This video continues with Chapter 61 Uchiha Madara's Hiding Place. Naruto. One-click full-level system. Chapter 61 Uchiha Madara's Hiding Place. Okay, you guys wait here for Namikaze Minato to arrive. I have to do some other things. Kinyu dismissed Susanoo. Kakashi and others looked stagnant and said anxiously, "What happened to Kinyu? Did something slip through the net?" Kinyu originally planned to find an excuse, but now Kakashi helped him make up for it, which saved him a lot of trouble. That's right. There were other ninjas watching from a distance just now and did not enter the range of the attack. Kinyu nodded and said, however, he should have also been affected by the aftermath of the attack, and he should have been injured. Kinyu, let's go together. Uchiha Madara was the first to lose his temper. Seeing the eagerness on his face, Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, "You're not afraid, are you? Don't you want to open the Sharingan? You have been avoiding fighting, but you can never open it. Face the difficulties and your opponents head-on. This is the only shortcut to your victory." Kinyu patted Uchiha Madara on the shoulder, then looked at Kakashi and said, "You are the next captain. I don't have any use for this thunder sword. I'll give it to you as a gift for being promoted to Jounin. Don't forget the white fang of Konoha, but there are existences that are superior to the Sannin of Konoha. What is right and what is wrong? There should be a measuring stick in your heart. Don't forget the sword skills of the white fang. If you don't learn it, you can still give me." After saying these words, the lightning on Kinyu's body surged. The next moment, he disappeared out of thin air. "He's really gone." Uchiha Madara couldn't help but said, "Will Kinyu come back?" Faced with these words, Kakashi and others couldn't help but stiffen their expressions. Kinyu's words just now felt a bit like explaining what happened after his death. "Are we going to provide support?" Nohara Lin couldn't help but said, "We are a team, maybe not as strong as Kinyu, but we can't let it go." What Lin said is right, let's go together to support Kinyu. Madara Uchiha agreed hastily. However, as soon as he took a step forward, he was stopped by Kakashi. "Madara, do you think we can handle an opponent that even Kinyu considers difficult? Don't forget, we were completely useless just now. The only thing we can do now is to wait for Mr. Minato to arrive and tell him what happened here." On the other hand, far away from where Kinyu and Iwa Ninja were fighting, a charred figure emerged from the ground. His face was full of horror. Almost died. If I hadn't carried out spore reproduction in advance and had a backup plan, I would have died under the kiln just now. Haiju's face turned pale. This time, he was staying in the body of an Iwanin, and he originally planned to wait for an opportunity to bring a junior of the Uchiha clan to Uchiha Madara. Make next plans. According to the intelligence, he discovered that 2 members of the Uchiha clan appeared on the battlefield this time. Originally, in his eyes, almost 200 people were able to catch just 2 members of the Uchiha clan, but they could easily catch them. So along the way, he kept bewitching the hunter and would catch the enemy no matter what the cost. However, Haiju never expected that this time he would not only meet the bloody Asura who had recently become famous. He was so powerful that he could kill them all instantly with just one thunder escape ninjutsu. If Hai hadn't had a forethought in advance, he would probably be a dead man by now. No, you must tell Uchiha Madara and let him know that a terrifying existence has appeared in the Uchiha clan. Black Setsu looked around, chose the right direction, and fled quickly. In his opinion, Kinyu's strange eyes were probably almost the same as Uchiha Madara's. Sure enough, it's this invincible King. Kinyu walked out of the darkness. Looking at the retreating figure, his face showed amusement. In the original work, after Madara Uchiha was buried by Firestone's earth-splitting palm, Kakashi counterattacked and encountered a large force of Iwa Ninja. Then Minato Namikaze came to save people using the Thunder God technique. Unfortunately, when the battlefield was cleaned afterward, Uchiha Madara's body was not found. This made Kinyu guess that Haiju must have been lurking in the basin from the beginning. Maybe it's possessed by the Iwa ninja. Therefore, Kinyu was preparing from the very beginning. I was going to give Haiju a big gift, so I used Lei Dun Killin. Now he was spared a small life, all in order to meet Uchiha Madara. According to the timeline of the original work, the current Uchiha Madara has already transplanted the Rinnegan eye into Nagato's body, and due to his lifespan and the old problems left over from the battle with the first Hokage that day, his strength is now very low. However, this time he was facing the legendary ninja, so can you still plan to be cautious? Otherwise, the boat will capsize in the gutter, which is not like Kinyu's behavior. Only at the last moment would he say such words to Kakashi and the others. A little while later, Kinyu's expression froze as he looked at the deserted grass ninja village in front of him. He finally understood why the grass ninja village did not stop the Iwa ninja from borrowing their way. Now that Black Setsu has escaped to this place, I am afraid that this is Uchiha Madara's hiding place. At the same time, the grass ninja village was still under their control. Please be careful. This is a critical moment. The village chief said not to let any Konoha ninja or Iwa ninja break into the village. A small leader appeared in front of the village entrance and ordered in a deep voice. The two grass ninjas hiding in the dark immediately cheered up. However, the next moment, their pupils suddenly shrank. A figure wrapped in lightning appeared in front of the little boss. With a flash of lightning in his right hand, the huge human head flew up. Enemy attack. This thought flashed through the minds of the two secret guards. Just as they were about to send out an emergency signal, the figure wrapped in thunder appeared next to them like a ghost. It's time for you to get some sleep. Kinyu turned his hands into swords and slashed them directly on the back of their necks. The two of them didn't even have time to scream, and fell into unconsciousness. After taking care of the surrounding ninjas, Kinyu didn't stop for a moment, and with a flash of his body he sneaked into the grass ninja village like a ghost. Compared with Konoha ninja village, Kusanagi ninja village can completely become a copycat. The village should have a population of just over 1,000, and there are only 100 or so people who can be called ninjas. Among them, probably less than 1/3 are able to stand alone and become chunin, and 10 jounin are already pretty good. Therefore, the grass ninja village has only existed as a buffer zone between Konoha and Iwa ninja villages. This time, he actually did something that made the Iwa ninja drive straight in, which was completely beyond Konoha's knowledge. Based on the hypnosis just now, I know that the cave in front is a forbidden area of the grass ninja village. I'm afraid Uchiha Madara is hiding here, Kinyu muttered to himself. With his current strength, not to mention the grass ninja village, even the Konoha village can come and go freely. If he hadn't been worried about alerting the enemy and letting Uchiha Madara and Black Setsu escape, he would definitely have fought all the way in. Let the grass ninja village hand over the people directly. There was a sound, it seemed to be Haiju's voice. Kinyu raised his brows, showing a hint of joy. Chapter 62. Sorry, I'm too excited. In the dark cave, an old figure sat on a chair. His face was wrinkled like tree bark, giving people the feeling of dying and about to burp at any time. Something bad happened, our plan was ruined. Haiju rushed in quickly outside the cave. Uchiha Madara opened his heavy eyelids and frowned involuntarily. In his memory and settings, Haiju is a copy of his spiritual will, and he should be calm and collected. The frightened posture now was beyond his control. What happened? Why didn't you get me back as planned? What use do I need from you? Uchiha Madara shouted sharply. Haiju's expression froze, and he realized that after a trip to the underworld, he had completely forgotten his identity. Looking at Uchiha Madara with an angry face, he felt unhappy in his heart, but when he thought of resurrecting his old mother Kaguya Otsutsuki, he clenched his fists slightly and calmed down his emotions. Madara-sama, I just lost my temper. The plan went wrong. A young man with Naoba Sharingan appeared in the Uchiha clan. Not only did he save our target, he also used powerful thunder escape to kill the people in Iwaninja village. All of them were killed instantly. If I hadn't saved a backup plan earlier, I probably wouldn't have been able to come back to see you. Naoba Sharingan? Uchiha Madara's expression changed. The so-called Naoba Sharingan is just a name for Uchiha Madara, and it also means kaleidoscope. However, during this period of lurking, he had been monitoring the Uchiha clan. Except for Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Fugaku, no one has been found to have the potential of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Moreover, only Madara Uchiha knows how to activate the Mangekyo Sharingan. Faced with the control of the ethnic group, Uchiha Madara has always been selfish and did not reveal the method. Otherwise, if everyone has a pair of kaleidoscopes, then Bani will be worthless. Madara-sama, I just know that the person is called Uchiha Kinyu. After I infiltrated the Iwa ninja, I learned that he used it for the first time not long ago when he fought against the Kumo ninja and the Mist ninja at the Northwest Pass battlefield of Konoha. Show your true strength. After a pause, Black Setsu continued. It seems that he has such great strength because he has activated the Mangekyo Sharingan. He also performed Susanoo. Susanoo? Uchiha Madara's face darkened and he said, I didn't expect him to have reached this level. I thought that it would take a lot of effort to cultivate a chess piece, but now one has grown up. Haiju, you must try your best to catch him back to me. Catch him and bring him back. Haiju's expression couldn't help but change. This is different from our plan. With the Mangekyo Sharingan and the Susanoo activated, the Mangekyo Sharingan has already been used to its extreme. It may be difficult to make him use it for us. In Black Setsu's eyes, the original target, Uchiha Obito, had not even opened his Sharingan. Uchiha Kinyu, who suddenly appeared now, is the owner of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Moreover, Susanoo, who also knows the most profound things, is awesome in every move based on his record. With Uchiha Madara and his current situation, it would be difficult to predict the outcome of the fight against Kinyu. Black Setsu, I find that you seem to be less and less like me. Uchiha Madara said coldly. I have been the mastermind behind all these years. Wars, genocide, and killings. Nothing has escaped my control. As long as you bring Uchiha Kinyu back, I am 100% sure that he will kneel here and be used by me. Having said this, Uchiha Madara looked at Black Setsu, flipped his Sharingan, and said sternly, Do you understand? Black Setsu's expression changed. He knew clearly that if he acted abnormally again now, Uchiha Madara would definitely be suspicious of him due to his suspicious character. Once Uchiha Madara knows that he is not his so-called spiritual product at all, I am afraid that the next plan will completely fail. When he thought of this, Haiju's expression changed. He nodded and said solemnly, I will go now. After leaving these words behind, Haiju turned around and walked out of the cave. However, as soon as he took a step forward, the sight he saw shook his nerves. Art fire escape Hao Fireball. The blazing fire came towards me. The fireball, which was dozens of meters in diameter, stirred up a large heat wave, causing the temperature of the air to increase dramatically. The violent scene shook the nerves of Black Setsu and Uchiha Madara. In their eyes, there was only one person who could use the mere fire-release fireball to such an extent. Uchiha Kinyu. Madara-sama. Haiju's expression changed, and he only had time to shout urgently before the oncoming super fireball quickly enlarged in his pupils. The blazing heat even set his clothes on fire. Just when he was about to pull away and retreat, a figure appeared in front of him first. Uchiha Madara looked old, but his movements were still slow. He held the Uchiha clan's fan in his hand and struck the blazing fireball head-on. Uchiha rebound. The blazing fireball suddenly stagnated. The next moment, it was shot away like a cannonball. The speed was so fast that it was several minutes faster than when it attacked. and it directly hit the Rocky Mountain wall in the distance. Boom! Fire shot into the sky, causing the dark valley to shake violently. As the fireball passed along the way, the ground was directly scorched and some buildings were burned to the ground. The smell of burning filled the air, and black scorched earth and smoke were steaming up. Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu stood together, looking at the falling figure outside the cave. Their expressions darkened. Haha, I'm sorry. I was so excited. I just heard that you were going to catch me, so I came here uninvited. Kinyu smiled warmly. I was a little excited. I shook my hand and threw the ball directly. I didn't accidentally hurt you. Haizi's face was extremely gloomy. This was the second time that he was almost killed by Kinyu. The first time might have been an accident, but the second time was undoubtedly serious. If Uchiha Madara hadn't taken action in time, even if he used the substitute spores, he would probably have been seriously injured. What's wrong? Are you angry? Kinyu looked at Haiju with interest and said, You are really lucky. When you were in the basin, you couldn't die. Now you are attacked head-on and you are saved. You are worthy of it. It's a monster that has lived for thousands of years. Chapter 63 Why don't you be my little brother? 1,000-year-old monster? Uchiha Madara's expression couldn't help but change slightly. Black Zetsu is no exception. This is his secret. If it were said that Uchiha Madara was the mastermind behind all the wars, genocide, and killings in the past few decades, then he was the mastermind behind the changes in the ninja world for thousands of years. Regardless of whether it was the Senju clan or the Uchiha clan that were in conflict in the past, they were both his masterpieces. It can be said that all of this is going on in an orderly manner under his control. No one can detect his presence. However, now Kinyu pointed out this secret as soon as he opened his mouth, which made Haiju a little confused whether he really knew it or whether it was a lie. Are you Uchiha Kinyu? Uchiha Madara said coldly, The Black Zetsu you mentioned is my clone. I'm glad to see you come to the door in person. This proves that I didn't misjudge the person. Child, you should know exactly who I am. I am the greatest and strongest Uchiha Madara of the Uchiha clan, and also your ancestor. I have the strength to rival the god of ninja. Even Senju Hashirama died, but I am still alive. This means that I am the most powerful existence, and no one in the ninja world can match me. Speaking of this, Uchiha Madara's face showed a hint of ferocity. If Senju Hashirama hadn't been dead long ago, with my stronger eye technique, I would have completely defeated him and become the most powerful being in the entire ninja world. Child, do you want to be more powerful than you are now? As long as you are willing to be my tool of revenge, I will tell you the way. Long words filled with inexplicable temptations between the lines. If placed on any Uchiha clan member, it might have an effect. However, as a time traveler, I am very familiar with Naruto, and I also have a one-click max level system. To be Uchiha Madara's little brother is simply a joke. What's wrong? What are you thinking about? Uchiha Madara said jokingly. In his eyes, the Rinnegan was superior to the Sharingan. If he hadn't been lucky enough to capture Senju Hashirama's cells, he would never have discovered it. Now it is enough to use this as a bargaining chip to seduce a younger generation. Sorry, I'm not interested in the Samsara Eye. Kinyu suddenly spoke. The expressions of Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu suddenly became stiff, and their eyes looking at Kinyu were filled with a hint of disbelief. It can be said that the Sharingan Eye can transform into the Samsara Eye, which is the biggest secret hidden in the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan. If Uchiha Madara hadn't been lucky, he might have died in the first battle that day. Now Kinyu destroyed Uchiha Madara's bargaining chip with one word. There is nothing shocking about it. Boy, what are you talking about? Uchiha Madara's expression became a little more ferocious and he said, Where did you get the news about the Rinnegan Eye? Is this the information left by Senju Hashirama? In Uchiha Madara's eyes, the only person worthy of his attention was Senju Hashirama. He would not believe that a mere descendant of the Uchiha clan could know the existence of the Samsara Eye. Guess. Kinyu smiled playfully. How about if you become my little brother? I might consider restoring you to your health. The low voice made Uchiha Madara and Black Setsu's expressions change drastically. From the beginning to now, the young man in front of them has completely exposed the secrets in their hearts. There was no sloppiness at all, as if he knew everything about it. If the boy in front of them is an old monster who has lived for decades or even hundreds of years, they may believe that the boy in front of them has been monitoring them for a long time. But judging from the bone age of the boy in front of him, he was obviously only 15 or 16 years old. There was no possibility of monitoring him at all. Why does he know so much? What's the matter, don't you want to? Kinyu smiled playfully. I come here with sincerity. If you don't want to, it will be very difficult for me to do. The only way is to kill you. After the words fell, Uchiha Madara and Black Setsu's expressions darkened and they shouted in unison. Do it! Baiju's figures appeared behind Kinyu, and there were as many as 30 or 40 in number. As soon as he appeared, he pounced directly on Kinyu's body. It seems that the negotiation has failed. The lightning on Kinyu's body crackled. With a sudden step, the ground suddenly shattered. Under the violent current, Baiju lurking underground was instantly shattered. At the same time, Uchiha Kinyu disappeared out of thin air like a ghost, and reappeared in front of Uchiha Madara. Heavy flow storm. His fists suddenly clasped together, and under the entanglement of lightning, an electric current of tens of millions of volts erupted. Without any flourish, he hit Madara Uchiha head-on. What a speed! Uchiha Madara's expression changed drastically. If it weren't for the Mangekyo Sharingan, he might not be able to see Kinyu's movements clearly. This was the time when he gave the Rinnegan Eye to Nagato and took it from a member of the Uchiha clan. The power may not be as powerful as it was at its peak, but he could still use the pupil technique. Susanoo! The blue eye power surged wildly, instantly condensing ribs on Uchiha Madara's body to protect him, and Black Setsu boom. The heavy hammer of thunder struck down with a huge impact, and the splash of thunder was like a thunderous explosion. The ground shattered, and the newly condensed Susanoo sank dozens of centimeters in an instant. Ahem! A violent coughing sound could be heard in the dust all over the sky. Through the translucent Susanoo, it was obvious that Uchiha Madara was vomiting blood. Hold him. Haiju's expression changed drastically. The current Uchiha Madara is already on the verge of death, and it is already very good to be able to survive until now. A large part of the credit was due to Senju Hashirama's cells, which barely kept him alive. If facing an ordinary opponent with Uchiha Madara's current state, it would not be a problem to crush the entire grass ninja village. But what was in front of him was a mysterious imp with the Mangekyo Sharingan activated, as if he could see through everything. This means that this battle is full of variables. Black Setsu, give me power. Uchiha Madara wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth and roared with a twisted expression. A mere junior dares to be so rude to our ancestors. I want you to know that there is still a huge gap between the same Mangekyo Sharingan. The hysterical roar made Haiju's nerves suddenly tense. In a sense, it does resonate with Uchiha Madara's cells. There can be a level of power sharing. However, once this method is used, it means that Uchiha Madara will burn his life and even the final plan will not be implemented. This will mess up his plan. Chapter 64. Now let's talk about Mao. Black Setsu, what are you thinking about? Give me your power quickly. As long as I kill him, the plan can continue. Uchiha Madara roared repeatedly. As a being that even Senju Hashirama doesn't dare to look down upon, to be despised by a junior at such a twilight age is simply a huge shame for Madara Uchiha. Haiju, if this old man kills me, I will kill you too. You have to think carefully. Kinyu smiled playfully. No, it should be said that whether he kills me or not, you will definitely die. The first half of the words made Haiju seem to be grasping at a life-saving straw. The second half of his words made his expression suddenly distorted. Just like Uchiha Madara, after living for a long time, when had he been so despised by others? Most importantly, even Uchiha Madara didn't know the secret of his living for thousands of years, but it was revealed by the boy in front of him. This gave Haiju a murderous intention. Looking at Kinyu with a playful look on his face, Haiju's face turned ferocious. Okay, since you want to seek death, Madara-sama will show you what despair is. Tree roots shot out from Black Setsu's body and immediately plunged into Uchiha Madara's body. Along with the wriggling of the rhizomes, a large amount of power was poured into Uchiha Madara's body like a frenzy. Uchiha Madara roared fiercely, and his old body gradually regained its youthfulness. The wrinkled skin also became firmer. A huge aura swept out with him as the center. The current Uchiha Madara, burning his last life, is obviously 10 times stronger than before. Although it is not as good as its heyday, it can kill 10 people with one hand compared to the level of a hunter. Power, this is what power feels like. Uchiha Madara felt the surge of power in his body, and the murderous intent on his face became even worse. He knew clearly that this was a life-burning battle. The result must be decided as soon as possible. Art fire escape Hao Fireball. Hot chakra gathered in Uchiha Madara's mouth. The next moment, he was swallowed up instantly. The blazing fireballs with a diameter of tens of meters gathered together and crushed Kinyu head-on. Not bad momentum. Kinyu smiled playfully. Your current strength is 1/10 or 1/20 of what it was in its heyday. Can I say that with this kind of strength, you can't defeat me? The small voice almost made Madara Uchiha furious. While looking ferocious, what he saw was the chakra ball spinning crazily in Kinyu's hand. Thus, the sharp and piercing roar made people's eardrums hurt. Is this a lunatic? He has honed the form changes to the extreme, and then injected the wind escape chakra into it, crazily blending the attribute changes and form changes together. The speed of the rotating cutting can probably tear the rock mountain into pieces in an instant. Haiju's expression changed dramatically. However, as the energy carrier of Uchiha Madara, he could not escape at all. The only thing he could do was to watch the battle obediently. PFFT. The Fenden Rasengan in Kinyu's hand was suddenly thrown out, and it instantly collided with the oncoming fireball. Wind can make fire grow, but if the wind is strong and the fire is weak, the dominant position will obviously change. The moment the two touched slightly, the blazing fireball was cut in two in an instant. The flames that collapsed suddenly were instantly pulled up by the Fenden Rasengan. Fire is born with the wind, and the wind helps the fire grow. When the two complement each other, blazing flames instantly rise into the sky. Like a flaming comet falling from the sky, it hit Susanoo Uchiha Madara head-on. Boom! The firestorm soared into the sky, and the violent air waves, mixed with flames and wind blades, crushed everything around them. Under the impact of this wave, the cave collapsed and was directly razed to the ground. The surrounding valley cliffs seemed to be struck by a pair of sharp claws, leaving thousands of gorges and claw marks, which looked shocking. All the trees in the entire valley were not spared and were broken directly in the middle. The soaring air waves directly penetrated even the accumulated clouds in the sky. The violent scene shocked the entire grass ninja village. There were only a few jonin left in the village, and they hurried there under the leadership of an old man. Looking at Susanoo, who rushed out of the sea of fire, there was only one end. The figure shrouded in it caused their expressions to change drastically. Elder, it's Madara-sama. A jounin couldn't hold back his anger, and with a drastic change in his expression, he said, "Who is fighting with Madara-sama?" They have already been controlled by Uchiha Madara using the Mizukage Sharingan. According to Uchiha Madara's plan, as soon as he dies, the controlled illusion will automatically cause these controlled grass ninjas to commit suicide. In this way, all plans will be seamless, and even if Konoha or Iwa Ninja Village investigate later, they won't be able to start. However, Kinyu's sudden appearance completely ruined his entire plan. It's a young man, and he actually uses the same eye technique as Madara-sama. A grass ninja's expression changed. Looking at Kinyu, who was facing Uchiha Madara from a distance, he was surprised and also showed enthusiasm on his face. In their eyes, Uchiha Madara is an omnipotent god, the fundamental existence that makes them stronger. However, compared to their enthusiasm, Uchiha Madara's pupils suddenly shrank. Resisting the Fengden Rasengan just now had already consumed a lot of his power. I thought this was Kinyu's killer move, but seeing how his left and right hands looked completely different now, his cheeks twitched slightly. As Kinyu said, he temporarily restored 1/10 of his strength with the help of Haiju's power. At first, Uchiha Madara believed that having Susanoo under his belt was enough to be invincible against a mere junior. Coupled with his superb combat experience and various means, it is not a problem to kill this junior. However, after seeing the power of the wind release Rasengan with his own eyes, and now seeing the water release Rasengan and the thunder release Rasengan in Kinyu's left and right hands, his spine felt hairy. "Why aren't you moving?" Kinyu smiled playfully. "If one pill can't solve the problem, then use 2. If that doesn't work, use 3. My good ancestor, tell me, are these words correct?" The low voice gave Uchiha Madara an inexplicable feeling of death, urging him to die at this moment. Looking at the warm smile on his face, Uchiha Madara had an inexplicable illusion. Compared with him, Kinyu looked more like an old monster who had lived for hundreds of years. "Boy, maybe we can talk." Uchiha Madara suddenly spoke. Black couldn't help but be startled. He never thought that the majestic Madara Uchiha would say such a thing. However, the next moment, the words that fell in his ears shocked his nerves like thunder. "Now let's talk about it. I just asked you to be my younger brother. It's inappropriate. Now it's better to go to Huinquan and keep me company." As soon as he finished speaking, Kinyu threw out the water release Rasengan and thunder release Rasengan in his hand instantly. If wind and fire complement each other, then water and thunder are no exception. 2 attacks with different attributes, based on the change in the properties of the Rasengan, launch attacks instantly. Even Kinyu couldn't imagine the power of the collision. Chapter 65, Heavenly Obstruction Zhenxing. In the ruins-like battlefield, 2 huge illusory bodies faced each other from afar. Under the shocked gazes of the grass ninjas and Uchiha Madara, Kinyu suddenly threw out the water release Rasengan and thunder release Rasengan in his hand. The short distance of 100 meters is just a blink of an eye. The 2 large Rasengan collided with Uchiha Madara's Susanoo instantly. Perhaps, because it was not in its heyday, the Susanoo summoned by Uchiha Madara only had one head in the posture of the 3-faced Shura in the original work. Facing the incoming Rasengan, he only had time to raise his hands to block it. Boom! An explosion like thunder suddenly detonated. The 2 powers of thunder and water were brought into full play at this moment. Under the violent force, the power of water turned into countless high-pressure water jets under the crazy compression of the Rasengan. The thunder attribute chakra transformed into countless thunder needles as thick as cow hair. The saturation attack formed by the 2 directly enveloped Uchiha Madara's Susanoo. The power exploded under the superposition of thunder and water, shattered everything within a radius of 500 to 600 meters. The oncoming strong wind is more or less mixed with thunder and water blades. Among them, some grass ninjas who were watching the battle from a distance were caught off guard and screamed in agony, with blood spurting out of their bodies instantly. What's more, the entire arm was cut off at the waist. Seeing this scene, the expression of the old man who took the lead changed drastically. "The people here are all the elites of their grass ninja village. If one dies, one will be missing. Everyone, get back." The old man glanced at Uchiha Madara, who was still in the explosion, a trace of struggle flashed on his face and gave the order. As soon as the words fell, regardless of whether they were injured or not, the grass ninjas all retreated. However, as soon as they took a few steps back, they felt as if they were in a daze, and their whole bodies were suddenly shaken. Deep in a pair of eyes, the mark of the Mizukage Sharingan flashed. Kinyu also noticed this scene. It seemed that these people were all deeply hypnotized by Uchiha Madara. At such a critical moment, it was directly used by him. Fire release Hao Fireball. Fire release, Impatience Flower. Thunder escape Earth Walk. A series of attacks broke out instantly. Even those grass ninjas who were seriously injured were no exception and did not take their injuries seriously. There was only one voice in their minds, constantly tempting them to attack. Even if it means death, never stop. Boom! Attacks from all over the sky poured onto Susanoo's body in an instant. It's a pity that the so-called jounin in Kusanagi village are actually not very valuable. They are just forcibly promoted to serve as facades. At the same time, there is no systematic learning of ninjutsu in the grass ninja village. All ninjutsu are imitated, which is half a bucket of water. The power that can be exerted is far from the full version. Kinyu remembered that in the original work, there was a group of wandering grass ninjas who secretly learned other ninjutsu and then added some miscellaneous experiences into it. In the end, they were all defeated by Kakashi's team. It can be regarded as a bomber in the motley army. After the explosions dissipated and the flames rolled away, the group of grass ninjas clearly wanted to launch a second wave of attacks. With the magic seals flying in his hand, Kinyu moved. No, it should be said that I moved my eyes. The moment his eyes widened, the 9 Madatama Sharingan moved wildly. The dark flames, like the flames coming from the underworld, suddenly burst into flames. Amaterasu. A dozen grass ninjas, including the elder, were instantly swallowed by the black flames. At the violent scene, even Uchiha Madara's expression changed as he was in the explosion. He had no idea that Kinyu could be so cruel and ruthless at such a young age. Moreover, the activated Mizukage Sharingan not only possesses Susanoo, but also this ominous black flame, which serves as a means of physical attack. Originally, Uchiha Madara planned to use this group of people to harass Kinyu. Now it seems that there is no way to put it to use. Seeing that the last trump card was easily destroyed by Kinyu, Madara Uchiha's face flashed with a trace of madness, and he roared ferociously. Boy, you forced me. Since you want me to die, let's go together. Uchiha Madara suddenly clasped his hands together, and the few chakras in his body were instantly poured into Susanoo. Susanoo, who originally only had one head, suddenly felt a surge of energy. Under the crazy squirming, 2 other heads appeared instantly. Roar! A roar like a wild beast came from Susanoo's mouth. The 6 hands suddenly opened, and the power of the explosion of the shrouded thunder water Rasengan was torn apart instantly. Along with this, Uchiha Madara suddenly clasped his hands together. Susanoo's 6 hands also flew up. A series of magic seals were formed quickly, causing Kinyu to raise his brows and smile helplessly. You old man, you won't let me have an easy life even if you die. This is because of the heavenly obstruction Zhenxing. Uchiha Madara's expression froze, and he looked at Kinyu with a hint of surprise. He didn't expect that Kinyu actually knew what ninjutsu he was going to use. However, now that he has used this killing move, Uchiha Madara has exhausted even the last bit of his life force. It was impossible to continue asking further. When he suddenly clasped his hands together, he, who had already run out of energy, closed his eyes and completely died. Boom! In the sky, a low sonic boom suddenly sounded. Huge rocks fell from the sky, giving people an inexplicable and depressing feeling. Under the friction between the meteorite and the air, it burned with blazing flames, which for a time seemed to block out the sky and the sun. It can be clearly seen even from tens of thousands of meters away. That bastard Madara Uchiha, I have to kill him next time we meet. Kinyu looked at the crushing Tianjin star, and many thoughts flashed through his mind. With his current ninjutsu, there is no way to break this rock. As for escaping, let alone the hundreds of grass ninjas here, it would be very difficult for him to escape unscathed due to the diameter of the sky-blocking earthquake star and the scope of the shockwave. Shadow clone technique. Kinyu's double surgical seals were formed quickly, and 10 shadow clones were instantly created. It's not that Kinyu doesn't want to be like Naruto Uzumaki, who can instantly create 2,000 clones. It's just embarrassing and a fatal lack of blue. According to Kinyu's calculation, with his current chakra, he can create about 200 to 300 clones. However, this will extremely weaken his chakra, making him unable to perform his next killing move. Watching the sky-impairing earthquake stars whizzing down and the noisy running sounds of the village outside, Kinyu moved instantly. Chapter 66 Super Large Wind Escape Rasengan. Kinyu opened his right hand, and the wind release spiral pill was quickly condensed. At the same time, the 10 clones were also synchronized, madly injecting wind escape chakra into the Rasengan in Kinyu's hand. Originally, this was a trick in Kinyu's hypothesis. Unfortunately, there were not enough mana and the enemies couldn't get on the stage, so it was not developed. With the help of the system, it can be fully leveled with one click. But now facing Uchiha Madara's heavenly obstruction Zhenxing, Kinyu could only risk his life to accompany Junzi. With the infusion of wind release chakra, the volume of the Rasengan rapidly increased, and in the blink of an eye it became a giant 7 or 8 meters in diameter. The frantically compressed and rolling chakra made even the skin in Kinyu's hands tingle. Thus, along with a slight buzzing sound, Kinyu understood that not only the form change had reached the limit, but also the chakra in his body was almost exhausted. Looking at the flaming meteorite less than 5,000 meters away, Kinyu suddenly threw the super-large wind-release Rasengan shuriken in his hand. Phew! The sound of tearing cloth suddenly sounded. The oversized wind-release shuriken, thrown by Kinyu with all his strength, turned into a stream of light and rushed towards him. The distance of 5,000 meters only took a few seconds when the meteorite fell from the sky. The two major attacks collided with each other. Boom! An explosion like a thunderous explosion tore through the sky and the earth. The super-large wind-release Rasengan instantly turned into hundreds of millions of blades and rushed into the meteorite. Flames and hurricanes rolled back, and rubble flew, and the entire world was engulfed in a dazzling sea of fire. From a distance, it looks like the sky is burning. Kinyu, who was under attack, also felt like he couldn't open his eyes. The rolling air waves swept away like waves of madness. Boom! When the last roar came from the sky, the stalemate that lasted for more than a minute was broken. The huge extraterrestrial meteorite suddenly shattered and disintegrated, turning into fragments and meteors all over the sky, scattering in all directions. Kinyu, who was in the middle of the attack, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The 10 shadow clones beside him had already dispersed without chakra support. Even the last Susanoo completely dissipated after resisting the debris flying all over the sky. When everything returns to calm, let alone this canyon will be razed to the ground. Even the villages outside have become devastated. There was a cry that reached the sky, although it could not be called a hell on earth. But under this wave of indiscriminate attacks, the damage to Cow Ninja Village was undoubtedly greater than that of Kinyu. Thousands of meters away, Haiju emerged from the darkness. He was shocked when he saw the huge meteorite in the sky, which was shattered by Kinyu and turned into meteors all over the sky. He had no idea that Uchiha Madara's killing move before his death would be defeated so easily. When Kinyu used the Thunderwater Rasengan, Uchiha Madara knew that with his body alone, he was no match for Kinyu. So he took the opportunity to let Haiju escape from the battlefield through the underground, and then used his strongest attack at the moment, intending to kill Kinyu together. In his eyes, Kinyu's strength was very good, but he lacked large-scale and powerful attack methods. It should be impossible to fight against the Tianjin Zhenxing, but it's a pity that God's calculations are not as good as those of humans. In the end, Kinyu took the risk and developed the super-large wind-release Rasengan Sharingan. Uchiha Madara said that if that kid is not dead, he hopes that I will go back to touch up the damage. Do you want to go back and take a look now? Black Setsu couldn't help but murmur to himself. After a slight hesitation, he quickly rejected the idea. Black would never be so arrogant as to think he could fight an opponent that even Uchiha Madara couldn't defeat. After looking back at the basin where Kinyu was, Haiju turned around and dived underground and left quickly. In the ruins, Kinyu sighed helplessly after staying for a while. It seems that Haiju is really cowardly and ran away without even looking at the result. From the beginning, Kinyu had already expected that Black Setsu would never live or die with Madara Uchiha. Moreover, Uchiha Madara will never let go of the opportunity to let Black Setsu die. He will definitely try to escape from the battlefield. After Kinyu solved the sky obstacle Zhenxing, he eliminated Susanoo, but it was not true that his power was exhausted. Just to induce Black Setsu out. Unfortunately, it failed in the end. However, Haiju was able to live for thousands of years, probably only because of his cowardice. By the way, we still need to recover Uchiha Madara's body. Kinyu raised his eyebrows. To obtain the Samsara Eye in the future, he will need to transplant Senju Hashirama's cells. If it could be found on Uchiha Madara, it would save him a lot of effort. Unfortunately, despite Kinyu's search, Uchiha Madara's body seemed to disappear out of thin air, leaving only some black ashes. There are also basins flattened by rock fragments. It seems that when Uchiha Madara died, he was worried that his body would fall into Kinyu's hands and self-destruct in advance. He is indeed a hero. Kinyu gave up the idea of looking for him. Looking at some fragments of daily necessities scattered around, Kinyu quickly flipped his hands and used his remaining chakra to cast a huge fireball, adding fire to the entire ruins. Since Uchiha Madara doesn't want him to get something, Kinyu had no intention of leaving some cells for others. He had some ashes on his hand that might have been Uchiha Madara's burned ashes. If a pervert like Kabuto Yakashi or Orochimaru appears, it will be disgusting to be reincarnated in the dirt. After finishing all this, Kinyu turned around and left without staying any longer. A few minutes later, a hurried figure landed in front of the raging fire. The originally pale cheeks now had a hint of livid color. Asshole, you're still a step too late, otherwise you would know what's going on here. Orochimaru has been following Kinyu. Unfortunately, I found some nice human specimens along the way, so I went to collect them. I thought that Kinyu would only be away for half a day and could be tracked perfectly with the help of the poisonous snake. I never expected that I would miss a shocking battle, although he had arrived 10 minutes ago. But seeing the appearance of the Tianjin Zhenxing, Orochimaru instantly lost the courage to approach and instead distanced himself. Wait until everything is calm before you dare to take the risk and get closer. The meteorite just now could not have come from the hands of Uchiha Kinyu. If it was really him, then the next actions may have to be changed. Orochimaru's face was ashen. After looking around, it became even more ugly. This kid didn't even leave any part of the other party's body. He deliberately set a fire before leaving. Could it be that he discovered my traces? In fact, Kinyu did not discover the whereabouts of Orochimaru. He possessed the Mangekyo Sharingan. But he is not a true sentient ninja, nor does he have Byakugan, so his insight and perception coverage cannot reach too far. Not to mention detecting the poisonous snake sent by Orochimaru to track. He did this just in case. I didn't expect that I actually guessed it right. Chapter 68 Minato Namikaze doubts his life. Ding dang, congratulations to the host for learning the super large wind release Rasengan. Can I reach the level with one click? The system's voice rang in Kinyu's mind, causing him to slow down. It was the first time to use the super wind release Rasengan just now, so Kinyu needed the assistance of 10 shadow clones. Now I have completed it for the first time, with the help of the one-click max level system. After learning the key to condensing the ultra-large wind escape Rasengan, then one person will be enough for the next use. Maximum level immediately. Kinyu gave the order directly. Ding dang. Congratulations to the host. The super large wind escape spiral pill has reached the level with one click. Listening to the dissipating system sounds, Kinyu exited the consciousness space. After leaving Kao Ninja Village, Kinyu quickly rushed to Shenwukun Bridge. He defeated Kari's large army, but the task of destroying Kanekun Bridge was not completed yet. According to the inference, Kakashi and his team are now deep behind enemy lines and are beginning to destroy the Kanekun Bridge. Minato, why are you here? Kinyu raised his eyebrows and looked a little surprised at the sudden appearance of Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato's expression froze, and he glanced in the direction of the Kyusakunin village, and Kinyu, who looked a little tired in front of him. His cheeks twitched, and he couldn't help but said, Kinyu, don't tell me. Just now the big road in the direction of the Kyusakunin village was the movement and stillness were created by you. Regarding Namikaze Minato's speculation, Kinyu helplessly cursed Uchiha Madara in his heart. Why not use the ultimate move, but use such an obvious tangent Zhenxing? Such a huge gesture can be clearly seen from several kilometers away. Now even Namikaze Minato has been provoked, and this is no longer clear. Can I say no? Kinyu said helplessly, touching the tip of his nose. Namikaze Minato rolled his eyes and said, You say that, and I'm even more suspicious. Other than you, I can't think of anyone else who can crush such a huge meteorite in such a broken place. I'm just curious who your opponent is. Kinyu didn't bother to refute Namikaze Minato's insistence. Moreover, he also wanted to see how Minato Namikaze would react, so he patted Minato Namikaze playfully on the shoulder and said, I'm afraid if I tell you, you won't believe it. Don't believe it? Namikaze Minato was startled and said, Now you have admitted in disguise that the battle just now was related to you. Why should I not believe it? I'm just curious, who can use that huge meteorite? When he saw the huge meteorite falling from the sky, Namikaze Minato also imagined whether there would be a way to fight against him if he was faced with it. Eventually he just came to a conclusion. Unless the flying thunder god's barrier is used to transfer this sky-impairing earthquake star, no attack method can destroy it. Moreover, after Minato Namikaze thought hard about being able to fight against such a strong person in the huge battlefield, except for the cage who would not easily enter the battlefield, only Uchiha Kinyu had the greatest possibility. That's why Minato Namikaze decided not to join Kakashi and the others for the time being and came to investigate. After seeing Kinyu, Namikaze Minato strengthened his guess. All this has absolutely nothing to do with Uchiha Kinyu. But one thing Namikaze Minato didn't expect was that Kinyu would admit that he was a participant in the war so easily. Uchiha Madara. Kinyu smiled warmly. Namikaze Minato's nerves suddenly became tense, and his eyes looking at Kinyu were a little livid. Kinyu, can't you stop joking? In the first Hokage's handbook, Uchiha Madara is already dead. How could he fight with you? Of course, Namikaze Minato had heard about this legendary ninja. Even the second Hokage confirmed his death repeatedly and wrote it into Konoha's secret files. Now Kinyu told him that Uchiha Madara was not dead. That's completely unacceptable. If he is still alive. Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, Forget it, if you don't believe it, I will kill you. Who else has the ability to almost kill me except him? However, let me tell you, the Chanju Zhenxing just now was not Uchiha Madara's heyday, otherwise you would have come to collect my corpse. Looking at Kinyu, who seemed to be talking about running a train, Namikaze Minato felt as if his mind couldn't turn around. But Kinyu is right. If Madara Uchiha is still alive, it is not impossible to fight Kinyu. However, both Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Kinyu are from the same clan, so why are they fighting? A series of questions flashed through Namikaze Minato's mind, and he began to realize that because of this one question, his head was confused and he couldn't turn around at all. Finally, Namikaze Minato smiled bitterly and said, "Can you, since you said your opponent is Uchiha Madara, where is he now?" In Namikaze Minato's eyes, if Uchiha Madara is really still alive, with his past resentment for Konoha, it is a huge disaster. "Of course I will kill the old man." Kinyu patted Namikaze Minato on the shoulder. "Even the scum has been burned away, you don't have to look at it. That old man is very cunning. Uchiha Madara is dead?" Seeing Kinyu's nonchalant look, Namikaze Minato's head short-circuited. "No." It should be said that Namikaze Minato was doubting life. Uchiha Madara is a person who can rival the first Hokage, an existence that makes the 5 major ninja villages fearful. Now Qin Yufeng told him calmly that the old man was so dead that he was no longer a scumbag. This is too hard to accept. Don't believe it? Qin Yu rolled his eyes and said, "Then it's off. Don't ask me again. After a big battle, all the chakra in my body has been depleted. I need to recover first. How you want to report it when you go back is your business. Whether they believe it or not depends on your explanation." Namikaze Minato was helpless. Even he was doubting his life about this matter, and there was not even the slightest bit of real evidence, so how could he report it? He glanced at Kinyu, who was meditating cross-legged to restore his chakra. Namikaze Minato sighed secretly, but his expression froze. "It's Kakashi and the others who are in trouble." Namikaze Minato quickly sent out a Flying Thunder God kunai. The Flying Thunder divine technique engraved on it made the whole body red and felt hot to the touch. This is a pair of special Flying Thunder God kunai made by Namikaze Minato to protect Kakashi and others. This is a technique that can only be activated when Kakashi senses danger when he takes it out against the enemy and is contaminated with blood and chakra. Now, the Flying Thunder God kunai that serves as a connection is so hot. It seems that what I have encountered is a disaster of life and death. Kinyu raised his eyebrows and said helplessly, "Do you need me to go with you?" "Of course I do. I would rather consume a little more chakra and keep you under my nose. If you tell me next time that I will doubt my life when I fight with the first Hokage, how will I report it when I go back?" Namikaze Minato caught him. He grabbed Kinyu's shoulders. The next moment, the Flying Thunder magic seal on his left hand was formed, and Kinyu disappeared out of thin air. Perhaps because of the person he was carrying, the maximum jumping distance of this Flying Thunder God technique was only 20 kilometers. After performing 5 or 6 jumps in succession, Namikaze Minato and Kinyu discovered something was wrong as soon as they appeared. Chapter 68 accidentally killed 2 mist ninjas. "Minato-sensei," Kakashi's voice suddenly sounded. Soon, Kinyu had a panoramic view of the entire situation. The ninjas who were surrounding him in front of him included the Iwa ninja and the Kiri ninja. Among them, the leader is Juzeng Loquat, one of the 7 mist ninjas. On the other hand, among the Iwa ninja, perhaps because they were deep in the hinterland, there were only a few less famous jonin leading the team. Seeing the sudden appearance of Kinyu and Namikaze Minato, the faces of the ninjas in the field changed drastically. Something bad is going on. It's the golden shining Namikaze Minato, and the bloody Asura Uchiha Kinyu who has been notorious recently. Why are they here? It's space ninjutsu. Rumor has it that Namikaze Minato is best at space ninjutsu, so he arrived in time. An elder in the village once said that once you encounter Namikaze Minato, who is known as the Golden Shining in Konoha, no matter what mission you perform, the first thing to do is to escape. The scene exploded instantly, and the nerves of all the ninjas were tense. Looking at the 2 uninvited guests in front of them, the atmosphere in the venue became extremely depressed, as if a big invisible hand was clutching the heart escape. I don't know who made a loud shout. The Rock Ninja and Mist Ninja, who were watching eagerly all around, shot out like cannonballs in an instant. As the leader of the team this time, Loquat Zhenxing had already escaped from this place after taking one more look at Qin Yu. At the same time, a burst of fog rolled back, covering the entire forest in an instant. Minato-sensei, hurry up and chase the Kiri ninja. They took Lin away. Half of Obito Uchiha's face was occupied by blood. A hideous wound cut across his cheek. However, what attracted Kinyu the most was that Uchiha Obito finally opened his Sharingan. Although it is only the weakest single Madatama, it is already very good. It seems that this time you got a blessing in disguise. Even the Sharingan eye was opened. Kinyu patted Uchiha Obito on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Lin is not in danger for the time being. Her physique is very special. If I guess correctly, the Kiri ninja plans to abduct Lin and make her into a three-tailed Jinchuriki." Jinchuriki? Namikaze Minato is no stranger to this statement. At least, among the people he knew, Uzumaki Kushina was the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Now the Kiri ninja plans to take Nohara Rin away and make him a Jinchuriki, which is definitely not a small ambition. Kinyu, is this true? Please go and save Lin quickly, I beg you. Uchiha Obito was anxious. Compared with Kakashi, Nohara Rin was more important in his eyes. Otherwise, the Sharingan will not be opened. Don't worry, I will leave the Mist Ninja village to me. Minato, you are responsible for blowing up the Kanabi Bridge. Kinyu dropped these words. The arc of electricity on his body resounded with crackles, and the next moment his legs suddenly kicked off, and his whole body shot out like a cannonball. The speed was so fast that the surrounding fog rolled away and disappeared from sight in the blink of an eye. Kinyu. Minato Namikaze looked anxious. It sounds very ridiculous to think that Kinyu talked about Uchiha Madara just now. However, now I know that Mist Ninja Village may be a trap. Why did Kinyu still know that the other party wanted to take away Nohara Lin? Moreover, when the three tails were mentioned, Namikaze Minato's heart suddenly tightened. An even more ridiculous idea flashed through my mind. Kinyu doesn't plan to attack the tailed beast, right? If Kinyu's opponent just now was really Uchiha Madara, then it might really be possible to attack the tailed beast. When he thought of this, Namikaze Minato couldn't hold his breath at all. Hurry up, let's blow up the Kinamkun Bridge and then chase Kinyu. I'm worried about what he will do. Namikaze Minato ordered hurriedly. Minato-sensei, didn't Kinyu simply save Lin? Kakashi couldn't help but ask. After seeing Kinyu's methods many times, Kakashi was indeed impressed. It was precisely for this reason that he was able to let Kinyu chase Nohara Lin with confidence, while he stayed to complete the mission. Moreover, the death of his father Hadake Sakumo still affects Kakashi in his mind. If it was just to save people, I wouldn't worry. Namikaze Minato said with a solemn expression, I'm just worried that he will take action against the tailed beasts in the Mist Ninja Village. Once that happens, the conflict between the two countries will be completely aroused. Attack the tailed beast. Kakashi and Uchiha Obito were confused. The tailed beasts and Jinchuriki were too far away for them. Most importantly, in their eyes, tailed beasts represent disaster. Jinchuriki have always been hostile and alienated by outsiders. However, now Kinyu actually takes the initiative to pursue the idea of tailed beasts. If he hadn't heard about it with his own ears, he would never believe it. Okay, now is not the time for us to speculate. Hurry up and destroy the bridge and go to stop Kinyu immediately. Namikaze Minato shouted urgently. Thousands of meters away from Kamakun Bridge, one after another figures quickly emerged from the mist. The person in the lead was clearly Zhenxing, who was carrying a beheading sword. Behind him were 12 or 13 mist ninjas. Zhenxing-sama, what should we do now? A Kiri ninja couldn't hold his breath. Sandai, you ordered us to eradicate the problem. Now if we let the people of Konoha go back alive, I'm afraid it will affect the plan. Shut up, Papa Zhenxing shouted angrily. The people we meet now are golden flashes and bloody asuras. Facing one of them, we can escape unconditionally. If you want to die, you can stay by yourself. We continued to disperse and escape. After leaving these words, Loquat Juzing quickly flew his hands and formed a series of magic seals. Kirigakure no Jutsu. The fog spread again, occupying the entire forest. Listening to the footsteps scattered around him, Loquat Juzo secretly breathed a sigh of relief. However, the aura of death that swept through his body at the next moment made his muscles tighten involuntarily. There was no time to think about it, so he quickly dodged away. Boom! A bolt of lightning flashed suddenly, like thunder across the sky. Loquat Juzo only felt the skin on his cheek sting, and then vaguely felt the big tree in the distance collapse. 2 screams resounded throughout the world. However, these 2 screams were extinguished in the blink of an eye, causing the mist ninjas who had dispersed to stop involuntarily. Facing the fog that filled the entire forest, my heart seemed to be tightly grasped by an invisible big hand. I'm sorry, I was a little too fast just now and accidentally killed 2 fog ninjas. Don't you mind. Chapter 69, Surrender Must Be Cut Twice. The low sound, in this mist-wrapped forest, gave people an inexplicable chill running straight from the soles of their feet to their foreheads. Loquat Juzing's face could not help but darken. Scarlet Asura, don't bully others too much, otherwise you will jump over the wall if you are anxious. 10 days ago, when news came back to the Mist Ninja village that the vanguard of the attack on Konoha's Northwest Pass and the entire army was wiped out, Loquat Juzing was also shocked. He knew clearly that the blowfish ghost Ziguashin and the black Ho Leia who led the team this time were not inferior to him in strength among the 7 ninja swordsmen. In some places he was even better than him. After all, the mastery of decapitation sword owners in the past is the silent assassination technique. Under the head-on confrontation, Loquat Juzing asked himself that he was indeed inferior to the pufferfish ghost Ziguashin and the black Ho Leia. However, even the 2 of them joined forces and were killed by the bloody Asura. If it is not necessary, Loquat Juzing is really unwilling to take action against Kinyu. Haha, I'm sorry, I happen to like to beat dogs behind closed doors. Kinyu said with a warm smile. Besides, I happen to be short of mana. If you don't mind, let me shave it. Wind escape, wind breakthrough. Kinyu grabbed it with his backhand and shark muscle was summoned instantly. There is no trace of fancy, and it cuts through the air towards the misty forest ahead. Boom! As soon as the knife fell, the endless wind exploded like a tidal wave, turning into wind blades that filled the sky and swept out violently. The mist that shrouded the entire world quickly dispersed like a fading veil. Some trees were cut in half by the wind blade. Disperse quickly. Loquat Juzing roared angrily. In the past, in the vast ninja world, faced with 7 people with ninja swords, the Loquat demon had the reputation of silently killing people. Among the ninjas from the 5 major countries, all of them fled upon hearing the news. However, the situation now has been completely overturned. Seeing the fog in the sky dissipate, Loquat Juzing didn't have time to think too much. He grabbed the fog ninja beside him, threw it behind him, and quickly ran away. Sorry, it's not good to just throw garbage. Playful words suddenly came from behind. Kinyu's body was filled with lightning, and his whole body turned into thunder in the sky. The shark held in his hand squirmed ferociously, and a huge head flew up. The next moment, the head was caught by Kinyu with one hand, and most of the chakra in the corpse was swallowed up by the shark muscles before it collapsed between heaven and earth. Listening to the screams coming from behind, Loquat Juzing's expression suddenly changed. He quickly quickened his pace and planned to escape, but his vision was blurred. The figure he least expected to see stopped in front of him. The head in his hands was the one he had left behind just now. Please take your garbage back. Kinyu threw the head directly to Loquat Juzing with his backhand. As the blood spread to the sky and the earth, Loquat Juzing's cheeks couldn't help but twitch. The next moment, his face turned ferocious and he roared angrily. Boy, since you want to force me, then go to hell. Water escape, water chaos. Loquat Juzo's hands were flying rapidly, and chakra crazily gathered into his hands at the moment. A figure wrapped in lightning, like a ghost, took the lead and appeared in front of him. I said, when there are too many blues, you might as well let me cut them first. Kinyu smiled playfully. The same shark in his hand struck at Loquat Juzo head-on. The violent scene made Loquat Juzing's face change drastically. Without any time to think, he quickly dispersed the gathered chakra, raised the decapitating sword in his hand, and blocked it. Boom. A dull collision suddenly echoed. Under the impact of the huge force, Loquat Juzing flew backwards. Finally, he hit a big tree 7 or 8 meters away and barely stopped. What a great strength and superb swordsmanship. At the moment of the collision, the position of the shark in Kinyu's hand was obviously the decapitation sword, which was weakest close to the handle, able to change attack targets in an instant. This is completely beyond Loquat Juzing's understanding of Kinyu. In his eyes, Kinyu was very strong, but it is obviously very difficult to control a large weapon like Simhata. After all, in the original work, there is only one person who can control 7 ninja swords at the same time. That is the Ghost Lantern Phantom Moon. Therefore, even if Loquat Juzing gets the same shark muscle in Kinyu's hands, he will never be able to exert the same power as in Kinyu's hands. Haha, thank you for your chakra. Kinyu was not in a hurry to pursue. The sword just now was made with the help of the transformational slash performed by the Konoha style 3 sun and moon dance. Not only did he use the weakness of the decapitating sword to repel Loquat Juzo, but he also gave Simhata enough time to plunder half of Loquat Juzo's condensed chakra. Hearing the gnawing sound of Simhata muscles and the chakra transmitted through the handle of the knife, the dry cells in Kinyu's body were gradually filled with chakra. There is a feeling of dew coming out of a long drought. Although the quantity is not much, the quality is good. Loquat Juzing's face turned livid, and he couldn't help but tighten his grip on the beheading sword in his hand when he saw Kinyu. His feelings about chakra being plundered were more intuitive. According to the calculation of the one blow just now, if he was hit by about 10 more blows, I am afraid that all the chakra of Loquat Juzo will be robbed. Juzing-sama, what should we do now? The Kiri ninja, who was standing behind him and didn't dare to move, saw that with one move, he even suppressed Juzo, one of the 7 majestic ninja swordsmen, completely subverting their cognition. Originally, I was suspicious of the so-called bloody Asura, but now it was obviously gone, completely replaced by fear. Shut up. Feeling the eager gazes from all around, a hint of ferocity flashed across Loquat Juzing's face. The next moment, he instantly performed the teleportation technique and disappeared out of thin air. Seeing the scene, Kinyu's nerves became slightly tense, but he soon showed an interested smile. Loquat Juzo disappeared out of thin air. Not only did he not cheat and attack. Instead, in a flash, 3 fog ninjas appeared behind them. The beheading sword in his hand was suddenly raised, and the 3 heads were thrown into the air with expressions of disbelief on their faces. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. The remaining 7 or 8 mist ninjas were the first to lose their composure, turned around and fled. However, Loquat Juzing obviously has no intention of giving up. As soon as he took a step forward, the teleportation technique was deployed again, turning into an afterimage and chasing after him. After just 2 or 3 minutes, Kinyu saw Loquat Juzing coming back carrying 7 heads. I am willing to surrender. Loquat Juzing said gloomily. Surrender. Kinyu smiled warmly. You killed them all without saying a word. Before surrendering, you should let me cut them twice. Chapter 70 The Most Mysterious Third Generation Mizukage. Surrender also requires 2 cuts. Loquat Juzing's face suddenly turned pale. No matter how you say it, he is one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. In order to save a small life, he even took the initiative to kill all his subordinates and issued a certificate of surrender. However, now Kinyu actually wants to slash him twice, which is simply a shame. However, when he thought of the blowfish ghost Ziguashin and the black hole Leia dying at the hands of Kinyu, Loquat Juzeng's expression changed, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Okay, I will let you cut 2 knives and give you some chakra. But you must keep your promise." After the words fell, a trace of determination flashed across Loquat Juzeng's face, and he inserted the decapitating knife into the ground with his backhand. A chopping board with fish and meat, ready to be slaughtered. Haha, it's just a joke. You don't have to take it too seriously. But if you choose to surrender, I still have to leave something for you. Ginyu smiled playfully, and blood-colored light quickly spread in his pupils. Loquat Shizeng's expression froze for a moment, and when he met Kinyu's gaze, he immediately secretly exclaimed that something was wrong. Unfortunately, before he could react at all, his whole soul seemed to be pulled out, directly inhaled into the 9 Magatama Sharingan. However, this weird feeling quickly dissipated. After the world was spinning, Loquat Shizeng finally came to his senses. The whole person seemed to have fallen into water and was soaked all over. The clothes on his back were also soaked. Looking at Kinyu's blood-colored eyes, his nerves tensed up and he quickly lowered his head. "Don't worry, I just left a hypnotic suggestion in your deep consciousness. Unless you can meet someone with stronger illusion skills than me, don't think you can unlock it." Kinyu smiled and patted Loquat Juzo's shoulders. "However, I am a good person. As long as you don't betray me casually, I won't kill you." After hearing these words, Loquat Juzeng's face froze, but he still remained silent. If you give people this kind of illusion and hypnotic suggestion, you can still be considered a good person. Then I'm afraid there are no bad people left in this world. What's more, after personal experience, Kinyu almost fell into the illusion hypnosis space with just one look. Loquat Juzeng finally understood why the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost and Black Hoe Thunder Tooth were killed. This kind of existence is simply not something they can match. When he thought of being hypnotized by Kinyu deep in his consciousness, Loquat Juzo gritted his teeth and finally gave up even the last trace of his pride. "Sir, Loquat Juzeng will never betray you. If you want to find the girl who was taken away, I can show you the way." Kinyu didn't care when he saw Loquat Juzeng, who instantly turned into a shaker. In a world where the weak eat the strong, fists are the norm. If you can't win, there are only 2 options. One is death. The second is to become a subsidiary of others. It can be said that Loquat Juzeng is a smart person who knows how to assess the situation. Otherwise, Kinyu wouldn't mind being beaten to a semi-disabled state and then asking the question clearly. "I want to know where Sanwei is." Kinyu went straight to the topic. Loquat Juzeng's expression couldn't help but change. I thought that Kinyu was just going to save people, but he didn't expect that he was planning to take action against Sanwei. However, when thinking about Kinyu's powerful illusion just now and his rumored strength, it is not impossible to covet the existence of the tailed beast. "Sir, the 3 tails and the 6 tails do exist in our Mist Ninja village, but except for Yu Gao, who has always left the village, the whereabouts of the 3 tails have never appeared," Loquat Juzeng said in a deep voice. "Never appeared?" Kinyu raised his eyebrows. The Naruto timeline he was in was more than 10 years different from the original work. He just knew that Nohara Rin was taken away and became the Jinchuriki of the 3 tails. Originally, the Mist Ninja village planned to unlock the seal in Nohara Rin's body after she returned to the Konoha Ninja village, and release the 3 tails to wreak havoc, in order to attract the rear of Konoha. Paint a strong stroke on this war. Unfortunately, Nohara Rin was killed by Kakashi midway, causing the plan to fail. The 3 tails was eventually sealed in his body by the 4th Mizukage. As for what happened before this, Kinyu didn't know either. Now that Loquat Juzing mentioned it, Kinyu noticed something wrong. In the original work, the first generation Mizukage, the second generation Mizukage, and the fourth generation Mizukage all appeared. Only the third Mizukage only came out to stir up some soy sauce and then disappeared. Not even a name. Kinyu once suspected that the third Mizukage might be the three-tailed Jinchuriki. If the third Mizukage is a Jinchuriki, due to special reasons like Uzumaki Mido, he needs to change the Jinchuriki container. Therefore, the target was shifted to Nohara Lin and the rear attack plan was implemented. This process led to the death of the third Mizukage, and the fourth Mizukage Agura naturally took the stage. It is precisely because of the lack of the third generation of water shadows that the next 4 generations of water shadows, Agura, were easily controlled by Abido Uchiha. Then the power of the blood mist was intensified and tyranny was implemented, so no one took action to stop it. Juzang, do you know where the third Mizukage is? Take me to see it, Kinyu said calmly. Loquat Juzang couldn't help but be startled. Sir, the third Mizukage is also very mysterious in the Mist Ninja Village and rarely appears. But when you put it like this, I also suspect that the third Mizukage is a Jinchuriki. He is now in Dongyu Lake in Mist Ninja Village. I will take you there now. Loquat Juzang didn't hesitate at all, but he was worried that if he was slower than half a beat, Kinyu would directly cut him in the back. Let's go. Kinyu did not hesitate. If the third Mizukage was really the three-tailed Jinchuriki, then Nohara Rin would definitely appear there. It will be nice to come to the rescue when the time comes. Kinyu's first priority now is to solve the problem of lack of blue. Within the Kingdom of Water, travel to the East Lake. This is a huge lake with no end as far as the eye can see. A dozen figures rushed out of the woods and soon landed on a rocky cliff that resembled an altar. Looking down, you can see the cliffs battered by bursts of wind and waves. 3 huge stone pillars, 20 to 30 meters high. The surrounding rocky ground is engraved with strange sealing techniques. A man in a cloak is sitting here cross-legged. Lord the third Mizukage, we have brought you back. A man wearing a fancy mask said in a deep voice. Just bring it back. The third generation Mizukage's voice was extremely hoarse, giving people an inexplicable harsh feeling. The moment he suddenly raised his head, a face of terrifying scales was revealed, and even the ninjas present couldn't help but took half a step back. Don't be afraid, this is a sign of the tailed beast's backlash. The seal in my body can no longer suppress it. The third generation Mizukage's hoarse voice sounded again. I originally planned to transfer the tailed beast directly into Yagura's body, but I didn't expect that the battle at the Northwest Pass would cause heavy losses to our Mist Ninja village. The daimyo is furious. If our plan this time fails, then our Mist Ninja village will lose the daimyo's trust. The expressions of the ninjas present couldn't help but change, and the leading Kiri ninja couldn't help but said, Sandai, is the battle at the Northwest Pass true? Is there really such a terrifying existence in Konoha? What if he appears on the battlefield? Do we have a good chance of winning? Even 2 of the 7 most notorious Mist Ninjas in the Mist Ninja village were killed. For these untitled ninjas, Kinyu is a complete nightmare. Chapter 71. Lend me your chakra. HMPH, you have really lost the prestige of our Mist Ninja village. A masked ninja walked out of the darkness. It's Lord Kushimaru of the 7 people. The leading Kiri ninja's face showed joy. In the battle at the Northwest Pass, Zikuash Pufferfish Ghost and Black Holeya were killed. However, the appearance of Kirihara Kashimaru, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, was still a boost for them. HMPH, there are strong and weak among the 7 people. Watermelon Mountain and Thunderya can only be regarded as inferiors. How can they compare with me? Puritari Kashimaru said coldly. Loquat Juzang, who is on the mission this time, is even better at the silent killing technique. If I join forces with him, even if that person comes, he will still die. Listening to these boastful words, everyone did not dare to make a mistake. Loquat Juzo is good at beheading with a broadsword, and coupled with the Kirigakure technique of silent killing, he can kill people invisible. However, this method would be even more powerful if paired with Kashimaru's long knife and needle. In the mist, under the spider sutures cast by the long knife and needle, who would find the steel thread as big as a hair? If he is discovered, his head may be missing. Kyuri Kashimaru, you're using me to brag to you again. Loquat Juzing's voice suddenly came. While all the mist ninjas were tensed, they soon saw a figure rushing out of the woods. It's Master Juzeng. The Jounin who took the lead had joy flashing in his eyes. During the capture just now, with Loquat Juzo serving as a backup, they were still worried about what danger they would encounter. Now that Loquat Juzeng can come back alive to join them, that means the mission is over perfectly. Juzu, you're still dragging your feet. Isn't it just to deal with a few brats in Konoha? It takes so much time. Kirihara Kashimaru said unhappily. There is no one left alive. If you owe something, maybe I can help you deal with the aftermath. In the eyes of the outside world, the 7 ninja swordsmen seem to be a group. However, the Mist Ninja Village advocates that the strong are respected and is also known as the Blood Mist Village. There are still many open and secret fights among the 7 people. It is true that I owe something. Loquat Juzo landed next to Kirumi Kashimaru, and his fingers suddenly tightened around the beheading sword. Directly slashed towards Kirumi Kashimaru across the air. I still owe you this head. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. At such a close distance, even Kirumi Kashimaru couldn't react for a moment. He could only hurriedly raise the long knife and needle in his hand to block. However, in the face of the powerful and heavy decapitating sword, this defense is obviously insufficient. One stabbing blow would probably destroy half of his neck. 3 tails. The third Mizukage shouted angrily. A scarlet tail rushed out of his body and directly hit the decapitating knife. Den! The crisp sound of metal collision suddenly sounded. The power of the tailed beast was so great that the decapitating sword in Juzeng Loquat's hand almost flew out of his hand. After missing the blow, Loquat Juzo didn't have time to think too much and quickly used Kirigakure's technique and quickly retreated away. Juzo, who gave you the confidence to assassinate me? It's too late to leave now. Kurisu Kashimaru shouted in shame and anger. A moment ago, he was boasting that he could easily assassinate his enemies by joining forces with Loquat Juzeng. I didn't expect the slap in the face to be so fast, and there was a snapping sound immediately. Ninto, Earth Spider Stitch. The long knife and needle in Kashimaru's hand came out instantly. The steel wires were like spider webs winding around Loquat Juzeng's body. Wind escape, wind breakthrough. The third Mizukage was also taking action, and the flying seal fell. The fog that filled the sky was instantly blown away. Seeing Loquat Juzeng's figure, he had just taken 7 or 8 steps, and while his face showed joy, his pupils suddenly shrank. A ghost-like figure appeared in front of Kirumi Kashimaru. The ferocious blade in his hand turned out to be Sameji. I'll lend you your chakra, my friend. Kinyu smiled playfully, and with the muscles in his right hand protruding, his strength suddenly surged, and the Semhata muscle in his hand struck at Kiritari Kashimaru. Phew! Blood spurted out, and the huge head was thrown away. He just shot out the long knife and needle in his hand, and he never thought that there would be a figure hidden in the mist. Moreover, what this person is holding is the great sword shark muscle of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon. Does this mean that the person in front of him is the rumored bloody Asura Uchiha Kinyu too young? This was the last thought that flashed through Kirumi Kashimaru's mind. Looking at the young man in front of him, the sky and the earth were constantly flying, and Kiritsumaru's head hit the ground heavily died. The faces of the mist ninja present changed drastically. 1 moment ago, the 7 ninja swordsmen, Kirika Kashimaru, were talking about running a train and bragging about being fearless. In a confrontation, he was beheaded. This is too shocking. Kinyu, you're here. Nohara Lin was awakened from a coma. The moment I saw the figure in front of me clearly, tears filled my eyes. When she went to the battlefield, Nohara Lin was already determined to die. When she was captured, she already had the awareness of death. But at the critical moment, being rescued by someone, this feeling cannot be described in words. At least at this moment, Nohara Lin's heart seemed to be moved by an invisible hand. Yes, is it bloody Asura Uchiha Kinyu? Oh my god, why is he here? Is he the killing god in the Northwest Pass? The scene suddenly became chaotic. The fog ninjas around them all pulled away and retreated violently. At this moment, in their eyes, only by being around the third Mizukage could they feel a sense of security. Click, click, click. The sound of chewing came from within Samehada. Wave after wave of chakra was transported into Kinyu's body by the same shark muscles, and he felt the chakra gradually filling up. Kinyu did not continue to pursue, but looked at the third-generation water shadow not far away. In the Mist Ninja Village, the third-generation Mizukage is the most mysterious. Being able to be chosen to become the third-generation Mizukage even when the second-generation Mizukage, the Demon Moon and the second Tsuchikage both died, is definitely the best among the cage level. However, looking at the face covered with scales, Kinyu finally understood why the third generation of Mizukage had remained mysterious. It turns out that you are a failed Jinchuriki, Kinyu said lightly. As soon as these words were spoken, many people's nerves became tense. Even Loquat Juzo is no exception. Chapter 72. Are you going to let me be the Mizukage? Boss, why do you say that? Loquat Juzang couldn't hold back his anger. He surrendered and became Kinyu's younger brother. However, he has always been one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Loquat Juzo, one of the 7, is also very interested in the third-generation Mizukage who has always maintained a sense of mystery. After all, in the Mist Ninja Village, the strong are respected and each of the 7 of them has a rebellious heart. I also feel dissatisfied with the third Mizukage who always maintains a so-called sense of mystery. Now Kinyu suddenly told them that the third Mizukage was a failed Jinchuriki, which obviously touched their minds. I didn't expect that even the always rebellious Loquat Juzo would surrender. It seems that I really underestimated you. The third generation Mizukage's hoarse voice sounded. Suddenly, when he raised his head, his cloak was lifted up by the wind, revealing a face covered with scales. It feels like a fishman. Is this the true face of the third Mizukage? The expressions of the Mist Ninja present changed dramatically, and some even took half a step back uncontrollably. Seeing this scene, even Loquat Juzo's pupils couldn't help but shrink. Ha ha. No wonder you were so eager to abduct Nohara Lin and took such a big risk to sneak into the hinterland of the Kingdom of Earth. Kinyu did not feel the surprise and said, "It seems that the seal in your body can no longer hold on for long. We'll soon be counterattacked by the tailed beast. There is also a small country between the Kingdom of Water and the Kingdom of Earth. Taking such a long time to sneak in and catch someone is enough to prove the seriousness of the situation." Moreover, in the original work, after Nohara Rin failed as a tailed beast weapon, she was directly inherited by the 4th Mizukage Agura. Kinyu guessed that something fishy was going on. Now it seems that Meng's guess was correct. Are you the hidden genius of Konoha, bloody Asura Uchiha Kinyu? The third generation Mizukage didn't care about his appearance. He raised his green eyes and said, "Among the young people, you are really the best." Very good, you can see that there is something wrong with my seal. If it is someone from our Mist Ninja Village, you think it would be great. The incomprehensible words made everyone present startled. Kinyu smiled playfully and said, "Lord Mizukage, are you planning to recruit me to the Mist Ninja Village and give me the position of the 4th Mizukage? The conditions are indeed good. Ha ha, you are indeed a smart person, but you are never from our village, and you, the Uchiha clan, have a lot of scandals and are also troublesome characters in Konoha. If I give you the position of Mizukage, I'm afraid the Mist Ninja village will be changed to another village. The third Mizukage shook his head and said, although I can't give you the Mizukage's position as long as you join our Mist Ninja village, I can make the decision for you to become the Great Elder and exercise the greatest power under the Mizukage, including the power of life and death. As soon as he said these words, the faces of the Mist Ninjas in the field suddenly changed. Among the 7 people with ninja swordsman, Zikyuashin Pufferfish Ghost, Black Ho Leia, and Lai Zai Chuanwen were all killed by Kinyu. The rebellious Loquat Juzo was willing to surrender. Only 3 of the 7 ninja swordsmen were left. Now Kinyu is allowed to become the Great Elder of the Kingdom of Water, able to exercise the power of life and death. This is simply a nightmare for them. Boy, have you considered it? The third Mizukage spoke again. Kinyu smiled playfully and said, it seems that I am still underestimated. A mere shabby village cannot satisfy my ambition at all. My goal is the entire ninja world. No, it should be said that my goals are not limited to this world, madman. Listening to these words, the only thought flashed in everyone's mind. He refused even this kind of sweet and sour food, and at the same time openly said such crazy things that would challenge the authority of the entire ninja world. The third Mizukage's expression also changed slightly, his face darkened, and he said, boy, you are too arrogant. It seems that we can't talk. Yes, we can't talk anymore, so should we do something? Kinyu said playfully. Such a provocative move made the third Mizukage's face extremely gloomy. Murderous intent flashed in his pupils, and he roared angrily. Okay, since we can't talk, then you can die with me. Roar! A deafening roar suddenly came from the body of the third Mizukage. The next moment, 3 whip-like tails shot out from behind and whipped Kinyu directly. As soon as he takes action, he will completely transform into a tailed beast. No, it should be said that it was the third Mizukage who clearly planned to give up suppressing the tailed beast and just let it go berserk. The sudden attack was simply overwhelming, and during the whipping process, the tail continued to enlarge. Boss, be careful. Loquat Juzing's expression changed dramatically. Facing the liberation of the 3-tailed beast, he had the urge to support him. But facing the ferocious power of the tailed beast, he was obviously not able to fight it. Step back, this tailed beast is interesting, you can play with it. Kinyu smiled playfully. The 9 Magatama Sharingan turned down in vain, and the blood-colored eye power surged out like a frenzy, instantly transforming into Susanoo Boom. 3 thick tails, like iron whips, hit Susanoo's body hard. The huge impact whipped up a gust of wind, shaking even the surrounding trees. However, facing this blow, not to mention Kinyu who was inside Susanoo, not even Susanoo could shake him. Blade of Black Flame, Garyuda. As Kinyu thought, the 9 Magatama Sharingan turned wildly, and the black flames in Susanoo's right hand surged, instantly condensing a blade burning with blazing flames. There is no hint of fancy. Just cut off the 3 tails. The sudden blow made the third Mizukage's pupils flash with a look of surprise. Without any time to think, he quickly pulled his tail back. At the same time, his mouth opened and a huge amount of chakra was poured into it, detonating like a frenzy. Water escape, great waterfall technique. The endless water, like a furious wave, rushes towards the black flames. However, with a slight touch, the endless river water was instantly evaporated, and the black flame blade chased one of its tails. Phew! The sound of tearing cloth suddenly sounded. The sharpness of the black flame blade surprised even Kinyu. Although he had seen Uchiha Sasuke using Amaterasu as an arrow in the original work, he did not expect it to be so powerful. No, it should be said that the current power is stronger than Uchiha Sasuke's. The huge tail was chopped off at the waist. The black flames spread rapidly to both sides like maggots on the toes. Roar! The scorching heat and the heartbreaking pain made Sanweiji Fushiryu roar crazily. Just now he had taken over the entire will of the third Mizukage. However, it only revealed the state of half a Jinchuriki. In the eyes of Sanwei Isafu, facing a mere brat, this was enough. He never expected that the slap in the face would come so quickly. Chapter 73. Even the tailed beast is ignored. On the cliff, 2.5 tails were rolling wildly under the impact of endless seawater. The jumping black flames were not even half extinguished. Under the impact of a large number of water waves, the speed of spread has slowed down, but if it continues, I am afraid that the tail will not be saved. I'm afraid even my life is no exception. I advise you, it's better to cut off the gecko's tail. As a tailed beast, you will be able to recover quickly. Kinyu coughed dryly and acted like a good old man. Of course, if you don't mind the two-tailed cat, you can also make a cameo. The low voice, as if it was filled with magic sound, echoed throughout the whole world. The mist ninjas who were present hurriedly fled to the distance, and even Loquat Juzo looked dumbfounded. For a long time, in their understanding, every tailed beast's uprising was like destroying the world and destroying the earth. Even many elders and elite ninjas in the village sacrificed their lives to be able to suppress it. However, now Kinyu was teasing the tailed beast in front of everyone. The calm posture made them feel like they were in a dream. If they hadn't considered the seriousness of the occasion, they might not have been able to bear it and asked someone to slap them in the face to see if they were dreaming. "Boy, you are looking for death." The three-tailed Isafu roared angrily. Like thunder exploding, the entire lake was shaken with endless ripples. The sound made people's eardrums hurt even more. However, this kind of strength could not last for less than 3 seconds. Under the infusion of chakra in Sanweiji's mouth, a high-pressure water jet spit out, instantly cutting off the black flame-wrapped tail. The blood was dripping and dyed the entire lake red. Seeing the three-tailed Isafu who really chose to cut off the gecko's tail, everyone in the field was confused. Is this still a tailed beast? Where is the dignity of the tailed beast left? No. It should be said that where did the ferocious power of the tailed beast go? Feeling the changes in the gazes around him, Sanweiji touched his cheek and twitched. Seeing Kinyu who was so close, he completely went berserk. Roar! A crazy roar suddenly echoed. At the same time as the three tails grew rapidly, the figure of the third Mizukage was squeezed out, turning into a blood mist that spread across the sky and the earth. A ferocious body measuring dozens of meters quickly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Bloody eyes stared straight at Kinyu. He opened his mouth wide and made a big move with his hand to express the resentment in his heart. Bang, bang, bang! 3 water cannonballs shot out instantly. At such a close distance, the speed is so fast that there is no way to hide. Well done. Kinyu smiled playfully, but behind Susanoo, a pair of wings instantly spread out and blocked him first. Boom! 3 loud explosions suddenly echoed. The splashing water waves rushed to the sky, raging across the entire world like a heavy rain. The Mist Ninja and Loquat Juzo in the distance were the first to bear the brunt of the water flow, and they used ninjutsu to block it. However, at this life-threatening moment, they were still unwilling to take their eyes off the battlefield for a moment, lest they miss this shocking battle. They were eager to see how Kinyu could have the confidence to say such teasing words in the face of the legendary tailed beast. Water splashes fell from the sky, and Susanoo's figure appeared again. Faced with this indiscriminate bombardment, Susanoo's defense was obviously not that easy to break. However, Kinyu had just fought with Madara Uchiha, and his power and chakra had been consumed a lot. It would obviously be disadvantageous if he continued to fight for a long time. If his brain wasn't filled with water, he would never fight a tailed beast over chakra. Boy, if you have the guts, don't hide in the turtle shell. Three-tailed Jaifu roared like thunder. Do you have cognitive impairment? You seem to be the bastard. Kinyu coughed dryly and said, but don't say that I bully you. As long as you defeat my men, I will stand and let you go. So what if you hit me? The inexplicable words suddenly sent chills down Loquat Shizing's spine. The mist ninjas standing not far from him also distanced themselves. In their eyes, looking around the audience, only Loquat Shizing was Kinyu's subordinate. Looking at the ninja world, the 7 ninja swordsmen may be a bit awesome. But in front of Sanwei, he is nothing but scum. Now being pushed out to fight, there is only one outcome. Become cannon fodder. Juzang, don't look like you're mourning. You can't afford to be in this situation. Kinyu rolled his eyes. He put the index finger of his right hand in his mouth and bit it. The moment blood started to flow, he made a stroke on his palm and quickly turned the seal with his hands like a wheel. Is it a psychic technique? Loquat Juzing breathed a sigh of relief, but was also secretly surprised. In his eyes, many people are also good at psychics. But there are probably very few psychic beasts that can channel and fight against tailed beasts, right? Sanwei Jifu was startled at first, and then laughed unbridled. Boy, if you plan to use this little trick to deal with me, you are looking down on me too much. If you can really channel things, it doesn't matter if I give you a pair of hands. The huge sound echoed between heaven and earth. Kinyu smiled playfully and said, I'm just afraid that you will regret that the tail is not enough after a while. Psychic art. As soon as he finished speaking, Kinyu slapped his right hand directly on the ground. Boom! The mysterious psychic seal quickly spread around, and the next moment smoke rose into the sky. The 3 huge bodies are as shocking as iron towers. Looking at the psychic beast whose size was not inferior to the 3 tails, not to mention the decapitating sword in Loquat Juzing's hand, he was so shocked that he fell to the ground. Even Sanwei Isafu almost bit his tongue. Boy, calling us out so quickly is not a game. If there is nothing important, don't blame us for falling out. Gamma Bunta exhaled a puff of smoke and stared at Kinyu with slightly narrowed eyes. However, compared to it, the pupils of Toad Jian and Toad Guang suddenly shrank. Ahem, I really like what you said, Bunta. You don't even take the tailed beasts seriously. This courage is worthy of the boss of Maya Amishin. The rest of the matter will be solved by the 3 of you. Don't beat yourself to death. Leave me some breath, I want to catch you alive. Kinyu coughed dryly and said with a smile. Gao Wen was so confused that he felt that there was a dead silence in the air just now. He hurriedly turned back to follow the gazes of Toma Takaru and Toma Hiroshi, and the confused look on Sanwei Isaru's face was the first to catch his eye. At this moment, they had an inexplicable feeling of sympathy for each other. They were all tricked. At this moment, Sanwei Isafu couldn't wait to swallow what he just said. This slap in the face was too fast. The ugly toad in front of him might not be afraid of him alone. But now he can summon 3 of them with one call. This kind of strength cannot be underestimated. Moreover, the leader of the team, Gamma Bunta, even had with Ikibai Shikaku in the original work. As soon as he appeared, both parties recognized him. It seems that in the original work, Gamma Bunta often had with tailed beasts. Perhaps, during the Second War of the Ninja World, Jiraiya let it fight against the tailed beasts. However, compared to the past, Gamma Bunta felt a little more sympathetic to the 3-tailed Isabutsu. It's pretty good for ordinary people to be able to summon one of them to appear at one time. Now can you summon the 3 powerful forces of Myamu Mountain to help out, and what followed was inevitably a team-up fight and a single defeat. Fatty's action of beating up the tailed beast. Chapter 74. The tailed beast is also afraid of being beaten by a group of people. On top of huge rocky cliffs. The 3-tailed beast was not inferior to the 3-tailed beast in the slightest, and he looked straight at the pitiful tailed beast in front of him. The mist ninja and Loquat Juzo in the distance also looked confused. They finally understood something at this moment. It is better to offend the golden flash than the bloody Asura. Facing the tailed beast, Namikaze Minato's flying thunder god technique may not be of much use. But faced with Kinyu's endless methods, The three major psychic beasts are summoned as soon as they are summoned. Will the tailed beasts be allowed to live under this horse? Boy, are you trying to trick us? Gamma Bunta was not even in the mood to smoke cigarettes anymore. He had just boasted about his awesomeness when he was hit by his awesomeness. Looking at Sanwei's confused face, he felt uncomfortable. After all, this is a real tailed beast. Bunta, you've already blown it. Even if you're kneeling, you still have to take matters into your own hands. Otherwise, you'll be embarrassed by Fukasaku and Shima. Kinyu said with a smile. The expressions of the three big toads couldn't help but change, and they looked at Kinyu with a hint of shock. You actually know about the existence of these two adults? Gamma Bunta asked anxiously. In Miyamu Mountain, the three great immortals are mysterious existences that are difficult for ordinary people to know. Among the many psychic contractors, only Jiraiya knew. This led to the fact that in the original work, after Jiraiya died, if Fukasaku hadn't come to him personally, he might not even know what a sage is. You bastards, how dare you ignore me? Sanwei Jifu roared angrily. As a majestic-tailed beast, he has always been feared by others and has never been ignored by others. With the huge chakra flowing out crazily, Sanwei-ji opened his mouth suddenly. Tailed beast Jade. Endless chakra was poured in crazily, and an indescribable dangerous aura filled the air. If there's any nonsense, let's talk about it later. Let me solve it first. Kinyu said calmly. Gamma Bunta hesitated to speak, then snorted coldly and said, Ken, Hiroshi, your movements are not slow, are you? We implement special tactics new. Toma Takaru and Toma Hiroshi agreed in unison. Compared with Toma Bunta, they seemed more honest court death. The three tails roared repeatedly. As a tailed beast, it was a shame to be despised by the three psychic beasts. The tailed beast Jade accumulated in his mouth suddenly exploded. Phew! The huge water ball with a diameter of 7 to 8 meters instantly penetrated the air and shot towards the three giant toads in a crushing manner. Do it! Gamma Bunta shouted coldly. The three giant toads are already known for their powerful jumping ability, and with a huge explosion, the cliff, which was already under tremendous pressure, collapsed under this foot. At the same time as the three figures soared into the sky, after the tailed beast Jade was shot out of the three tails' mouths, their huge bodies fell straight into the lake below. Boom! The tailed beast Jade instantly fell into the air and hit the distant mountain. Endless water waves fell from the sky like a heavy rain. The wind and waves stirred up made it impossible for Loquat Juzing and other fog ninjas to stand. Some large trees that only adults could hug could not bear the impact and were cut off directly. Half of the mountain was destroyed in an instant by the rain that rushed towards him. This horse riding is like a fight between gods, and mortals like them suffer. Not everyone can hide in Susanoo like Kinyu and remain unaffected. Get started, slash with the back of the toad's short sword. Double blades. The toad flies and breaks. Three roars suddenly sounded, making the three tails' nerves suddenly tense as they fell into the lake. However, in midair, its huge body cannot move flexibly at all. As soon as his eyes flashed, Gamma Bunta suddenly kicked off the cliff with his feet, and his huge body appeared in front of him like a cannonball. The short knife in his hand suddenly turned down and struck it in the chest. You're a toad looking for death. Three tails roared angrily. The two tails twitched quickly like a horned dragon, intending to throw Gamma Bunta head-on. Unfortunately, as soon as it moved, the two huge Takai swords in Toadhiro's hands struck it directly on the back, forcing the two tails down. At the same time, the huge fork in Toad Giant's hand was suddenly thrown out. Unable to dodge in time, Sanwei hit the neck directly. Boom. The attack of the three giant toads exploded with power like thunder. The huge body of the three tails flew directly upside down onto the shallow beach of the lake like a sandbag. Along with a shocking roar, the ground was directly smashed into pieces. The huge fork nailed it to the ground. Roar! Sanwei was in dizziness, shaking his head hurriedly and roaring angrily at the same time. However, as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw 3 big toads standing in 3 directions with horn-like postures. With his hands flying rapidly, a series of magic seals were formed. Huge amounts of chakra are being mobilized crazily within their bodies. Combined ninjutsu, Toad Sanchi Kill. The last magic seal was accompanied by a sudden clasping of hands. The water waves rolling around instantly turned into horned dragons, winding towards the 3 tails crazily. The speed was so fast that it was dazzling, just a short breath. All of Sanwei's hands, feet were directly tied up, including his mouth. At this moment, the 3 giant toads used their magic to make the surrounding lake water become their best means of sealing and suppressing it. Boy, we have suppressed the turtle in accordance with your request. Whether you can collect it or kill it depends on yourself. Gamabunta shouted urgently. The 3 giant toads seemingly suppressed the tailed beasts with ease, mostly through trickery. Moreover, the 3 tails directly counterattacked the Jinchuriki. Otherwise, if they could cooperate with the Jinchuriki, they would be able to perform more powerful ninjutsu. Unfortunately, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. Tailed beasts are also afraid of being beaten by a group. Facing the 3 giant toads, Sanwei could only stare and whine unwillingly. I'm here. Kinyu's 9 Magatama Sharingan suddenly turned, and the wings behind Susanoo's back suddenly shook, turning into a stream of light and falling towards the battlefield below. Loquat, Zhenxing, and the other mist ninjas, obviously forgetting their current opposing positions, quickly approached the edge of the cliff and stared down with wide eyes. They were eager to see what confidence Kinyu had to take back the tailed beast that was so ferocious that even the 3rd generation of Mizukage could not successfully suppress it. This idea also appeared in the minds of the 3 toads. Toad Bunta looked at Kinyu with a hint of amusement. Chapter 75. Even the dignity of the tailed beast is gone. Human, you can't suppress me for too long with the 3-headed toad alone. As long as I get away, I will definitely kill you. The 3-tailed man couldn't open his mouth, but he was obviously able to speak in other ways. The rolling sound of words echoed between heaven and earth, making people's eardrums hurt. Feeling that Gamabunta was clearly showing no effort, Kinyu reluctantly dismissed Susanoo and said, "Now I'll give you a chance. Surrender obediently, otherwise I will take action." "Give me a chance." A loud laugh came from Sanwei's mouth and said, "You can't even maintain your defense, and you still plan to scare me." "I, Sanwei, am very scared." "Yeah." Kinyu shook his head helplessly. "Since you drink the fine wine instead of toasting, I can only use force." After speaking inexplicably, Kinyu suddenly raised his head. As the 9 Magatama Sharingan rotates crazily, if it touches the line of sight slightly, it feels like the whole world is spinning. Don't look into his eyes. Gamabunta bit his tongue hurriedly. Last time, it suffered from Kinyu's illusion, so it was able to react in time. Unfortunately, Gao Jian and Gao Guang's experience was obviously insufficient and they had no time to react. He immediately lost consciousness and fell into the illusion space. The scene caused Gamabunta's expression to change drastically, and the sealing technique was suppressed simultaneously by 3 giant toads. Now that both Tamahiro and Tamaken have lost consciousness, it means that the seal will be lifted. Once a furious-tailed beast escapes, it will be a fatal blow to them. However, as the seal was lifted, the 3 tails, who had gone berserk, lay on the ground without making any movement. In a pair of eyes, the Scarlet 9 Magatama Sharingan mark appeared. The violent scene shook Gamabunta's heart. Even the tailed beast is trapped in the Jinjutsu. Tai Wentai, what happened? Toad Ken and Toad Hiroshi woke up from the illusion, with fear still on their faces. When I thought about the brief distraction just now, if the tailed beasts succeeded in sneak attack, the word fall would definitely not be far away from them. It's an illusion. Don't look into that kid's eyes, otherwise you'll fall for it. Gamabunta warned urgently. The expressions of Toad Giant and Toad Guang suddenly changed. They quickly suppressed their curiosity and missed Kinyu's sight, seeing that the tailed beasts were trapped in the illusion. Before they could break free, a cold air came out from the bottom of their feet. In the consciousness space, Kinyu saw the three tails trapped here. To pull the three tails into a deep illusion, it is not difficult to use Kinyu's perfect Manjikayo Sharingan to perform Tsukuyomi. Moreover, the three tails does not have the help of a Jinchuriki and cannot use two chakras of different attributes to collide with each other to dispel the Genjutsu internally. It can be said that this is also one of the huge weaknesses of the tailed beast's lack of Jinchuriki. The color of blood is entangled in the space of consciousness, and illusory tailed beast bodies are quickly emerging. The three tails were trapped in the middle, with 4 limbs and 3 tails. The 3 tails were nailed to the ground and were bitten crazily. This kind of damage from the mental level is exactly the same as real pain. Kakashi was hit by the Tsukuyomi that day, and it was only for a short moment, but he felt like he had been stabbed by random knives for 3 days and 3 nights. Afterwards, I lay in the ward for more than a week before I finally recovered. This was the Tsukuyomi performed by Itachi Uchiha when he was seriously ill and still had the Manjikayo Sharingan, which was still defective and had not reached the eternal Manjikayo Sharingan. In the original work, Madara can control the 9 tails by just staring, and even Uchiha Obito is no exception. This shows that the external strength of the 9-tailed beasts is reflected in chakra. On the spiritual level, it is not enough for the people of the Uchiha clan who have the Manjikayo Sharingan. Now Kinyu has improved the Manjikayo Sharingan to the extreme through the one-click max level system, reaching the level of 9 Magatama. There were also 3 big toads that suppressed Sanwei at the beginning. It was too easy for Kinyu to make Sanwei trapped in Tsukuyomi. "Boy, let me go quickly and have a good fight with me." Sanwei roared hysterically, although it knew it was an illusion, but facing Tsukuyomi's pain truly reflected back to itself. The 3 tails now directly felt like it was being bitten by someone like fish on a chopping board. Watching the huge body recover again after being chewed into pieces. The scalp is numb due to the endless cycle. It seems that you still don't intend to surrender. Kinyu rested his head on his hands, turned around and left. "With my current power, you should stay here for 3 to 5 days. It's okay if someone outside saves you. Otherwise, just enjoy it slowly." Seeing Kinyu really walking away, and the tearing pain that spread all over his body, even though the 3 tails had survived for thousands of years, they couldn't bear it anymore. What on earth do you want me to do?" Sanwei shouted urgently. This was the first time that it was so worried about a human being disappearing in front of it. Kinyu couldn't help but stop his steps. He turned around and looked at Sanwei, who was holding back the pain, shaking all over in pain and wanting to scream. Kinyu laughed dryly and said, "Actually, it's nothing. I'm born with a lack of blue. It's also a big move, so the chakra can't keep up if you are willing to stay by my side. When I don't have enough chakra, just give me a splurge and that's it." A small voice echoed in this space of consciousness. Sanwei couldn't help being startled and said anxiously, "Is this why you spend so much time on something like this? Don't you need to forcefully control me to go to the battlefield and participate in the war? Kinyu rolled his eyes and sneered, "Is it worth it? You are weaker than me. In my heyday, 10 balls could kill you. If it weren't for the fact that you have a lot of chakra, I wouldn't even bother to take action." Shame. Sanwei was so angry that he was shaking all over. The majestic tailed beast is a terrifying existence. To be pointed at the nose and said to be a drag, this even robbed the tailed beast of its dignity. If it were anyone else, Sanwei would definitely be in a hurry with him. It's a pity that the current situation is stronger than that of others, and Kinyu is easily trapped in the illusion space. This anger obviously had no way of breaking out. What's more, if it is as simple as Kinyu said, this transaction is not unacceptable. "Okay, I promise you. but you can't restrict my personal freedom, and you can't seal me at will. Sanwei Isafu finally lost his temper. Feeling the stinging pain all over his body, he longed for Kinyu's response immediately. Don't worry. Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, but don't go back on your word. Otherwise don't blame me for turning against you and burning you. Chapter 76. Tailed beasts were actually quite cute when they were young. Braised. Sanwei's expression suddenly changed. These words sounded like a joke, but after personally experiencing Kinyu's methods, it knows very well that the other party can definitely do it. This battle starts from the beginning until now. Except for the initial battle, the 3 giant toads were summoned to participate in the battle. Although the 3 tails were suppressed by the seal and their strength was greatly weakened. But Kinyu was able to pull it into the illusion space with just one look. This is enough to prove how big the gap between the 2 sides is. Okay, let's go out now. The blood in Kinyu's eyes rolled back like a tide. The phantoms in the 3-tailed consciousness space dispersed between heaven and earth, and the next moment Kinyu disappeared out of thin air. In the outside world, everything that happens in the conscious space seems very complicated and very long. However, in the eyes of the 3 big toads, it was just a blink of an eye. Seeing the reflection of the 9 Megatama Sharingan in the 3-tailed pupils suddenly disappear, their nerves suddenly became tense. I'm afraid that kid failed. Let's quickly re-implement the sealing technique. Gamabunta shouted urgently. It didn't want to obey Kinyu's order, but at this juncture, it couldn't allow it to think too much. If the 3 tails were allowed to go berserk successfully, they would not be able to bear the burden of walking around. What's all the fuss and nervousness about? Kinyu's voice suddenly sounded. The hands of the 3 big toads who were about to form the seal suddenly stopped and looked at Kinyu with a relaxed look on his face. Completely unable to calm down, he hurriedly looked at Sanwei. When he saw the 3 tails regaining consciousness, he called out to Uchiha-sama in an unusually meek tone. The 3 giant toads were directly petrified on the spot. This horse is brainwashed. No, if it were the speed of brainwashing, it would be too fast. Just staring for a moment, thinking about it makes people feel chills running down their spines. Okay, this is so awkward for Uchiha-sama. Kinyu rolled his eyes. He didn't expect that the 3 tails would be so unruly and change their tune so quickly. Let's call him Mr. Kin from now on. Also, your body is a bit too big. You should be able to become as big as a rag doll. Kinyu started making gestures as he spoke. That move seemed like he was planning to take the 3 tails with him. Boy, I'm giving you a lot of respect by calling you Uchiha-sama, but you also turned me into a rag doll. Where's the dignity of my tailed beast? The chakra in the 3 tails rose to the sky. It felt like a man who could not be killed or humiliated. The 3 big toads couldn't help but take half a step back. Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, whether you plan to continue to go in and use it as a cutting board or fish and reflect, or to be sealed into a urinal now, you can choose for yourself. Seeing Kinyu looking up and down with great interest, Sanwei couldn't help but tremble all over. He quickly put on a flattering look on his face and said, Master Kin, I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. In fact, our tailed beasts were quite cute when we were young. You don't know, the raccoon cat and the fox are just tutting like that, and they're always fighting. At that time, it was better for me to be a good person and break up the fight, otherwise they wouldn't grow up. Looking at the 3 tails who are talking about running trains, no matter it is the 3 big toads. Loquat Juzo and all the mist ninjas who were still watching the battle were completely petrified. The tailed beast was very skillful in flattering, but it made them feel inferior. The next moment, seeing Loquat Juzo transforming into a mascot-like, extremely cute appearance, he couldn't help but slap the Kiri ninja next to him. Tell me, you're not in pain right now, you're just dreaming. The Kirito ninja on the side looked like he was crying, covering his cheek and said, Can I say it hurts? And why don't you hit yourself? I'm the one who got hurt. Kinyu didn't take it to heart about everyone's shock. He motioned for the three tails to land on his shoulders. After adjusting the size several times, he finally looked at the three big toads with satisfaction. Taiwan, I have to thank you very much this time, otherwise I wouldn't be able to solve it. Gamabunta's cheeks were twitching. After witnessing with his own eyes, Kinyu jerked off the majestic-tailed beast like a cat. He didn't believe Kinyu's nonsense. Boy, stop talking nonsense. With your strength, you are enough to deal with the three tails. Gamabunta took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, you are planning to pass the three tails matter this time, so as to convince us. Since you know the existence of Fukasaku and Shima, do you plan to learn the art of sage like Jiraiya? Look at Gamabunta, who can fully use his imagination. Kinyu smiled warmly and said, you are half right. However, I must learn the art of immortality. I know that you will think that I have bad intentions, but it is not your decision to make the decision on this matter. You can go back and propose it to the two adults. Maybe they will agree. Having said this, Kinyu paused and continued, also, tell them that the world is about to change. Gamabunta's expression changed, as did the two big toads behind him. These words were very vague, but they had also lived for a long time, so of course they knew what Kinyu meant by these words. After the three big toads looked at each other, Toadbunta snorted coldly and said, don't worry, I will tell you these things. Forget it this time, don't summon us randomly next time. Without saying these words, the three big toads directly lifted the psychic technique. These three stupid toads, I don't know what their expressions will be when they meet other tailed beasts next time they are summoned. The three tails said gloatingly. Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, I'm hungry. Go and catch 2 fish for me. Let the tailed beast catch fish. Loquat Zhenxing just rushed over after seeing the battle end. Seeing the three-tail fart, I really ran to catch it. The whole person almost staggered and fell to the ground like a dog. As the 7 ninja swordsmen in the Mist Ninja Village, he is also considered one of the top leaders. Of course, I know that on weekdays, this tailed beast is worshipped like a great god in the village. Now it's good, the relationship and status in front of Kinyu are completely reversed. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never believe it. Sir, may I ask if you have any other instructions? Loquat Zhenxing came back to his senses. Even the majestic-tailed beast has such a low profile, and it doesn't dare to be so presumptuous. Nothing happens for the time being. Kinyu waved his hand, sat down on the rock, and then raised his brows and said, by the way, there seems to be a newcomer in your Mist Ninja Village named Mikigaki Kasama. Find him for me. If you can bring it to me, that would be the best. If you can't do that, just contact me and I'll go there myself. Dried persimmon Kisame. Loquat Zhenxing couldn't help but be startled and immediately said, Sir, are you talking about the shark face under the pufferfish ghost? That guy is quite simple. He is always fooled by the pufferfish ghosts, but he is very strong. I heard he is qualified to compete for the position of the 7 ninja swordsmen. As one of the few Super S-class rebellious ninjas in the Mist Ninja Village, Kasama Inigangaki is still here, both in the original work and here. Personal appearance and outstanding strength, the truth that gold will still shine is absolutely unmistakable. Zhenxing, you are wrong. Kinyu shook his head and said, he will be stronger than you. Someone is coming, please leave first. Chapter 77. What a hell this horse riding thing is. Will he be stronger than us? Loquat Zhenxing's expression changed slightly. However, he did not dare to question Kinyu's words. I could only turn around and walk away with my heart full of confusion. As for whether he would rebel or whether Loquat Zhenxing would never return, Kinyu didn't care. If you are not afraid of death, you can try it. Kinyu, are you okay? 3 figures rushed out of the woods, looking dusty. Along the way, since Namikaze Minato had never been to this area before, he did not leave the flying thunder magic seal, so he had to bite the bullet and come quickly. After almost a day of crazy driving, Kakashi and Uchiha Madara couldn't breathe easily. It can be said that they arrived on the battlefield without any strength to fight. Don't worry, everything has been solved. The people are over there. Kinyu glanced at Kakashi and the others and rushed towards the collapsed cliff. When the three big toads and the three tails were fighting just now, Kinyu took the opportunity to use Susanoo to secretly hide Nohara-Lin and set up a barrier. Counting the time now, it's almost time to wake up. Minato-sensei, wait for us. Uchiha Madara took a few quick breaths before taking sour steps. Unfortunately, like Kakashi, he fell to the ground just after taking a few steps. He didn't even have the strength to move half a step. Hey, you guys stay here for now, I'll go take a look. Namikaze Minato sighed helplessly. Kinyu is 2 years older than Kakashi and Uchiha Madara, but the difference in strength is really incomparable. Kinyu, thank you for saving me. As soon as Namikaze Minato regained his footing, he saw Nohara-Lin running towards Kinyu's arms. Those two soft balls made Kinyu startled. It seems that this is the benefit of saving beauty. How long are you going to hug me? If those two guys see it, I'm worried that they won't be able to bear the burps. Namikaze Minato coughed dryly. As a teacher, he could certainly see the ambiguity between the three students. What if, let them know that the woman they had traveled thousands of miles to save had thrown herself into the arms of another man? That feeling is probably more uncomfortable than death. Teacher Minato, what are you talking about? There is nothing between Kinyu and me, Nohara-Lin said with a slight blush on her cheeks. It's really nothing. I just saved him twice and didn't promise him anything. Kinyu laughed dryly. Kinyu, you. Nohara-Lin's cheeks turned even redder, and her head was almost buried in the steamed bun. Namikaze Minato rolled his eyes helplessly and said, It seems that those two boys have no chance of being your opponents. Let's get back to the topic. What was the cause of the big explosion just now? On the way there, they saw the impact of the tailed beast Jade from a distance, which directly overturned the mountain. This large-scale attack method can be seen by anyone who is not blind. I just knew that as soon as Kinyu appeared, I passed out for no reason. Nohara-Lin said with an embarrassed look. However, this can't be blamed on her. She was held hostage along the way and was constantly subjected to illusions and hypnosis in order to prepare for becoming a Jinchuriki. For Nohara-Lin, her mental strength was completely overdrawn, and it was good to be able to wake up briefly. Here, I met the 7 ninja swordsmen, Kashikashimaru, and the 3rd Mizukage. Kinyu did not hide it. He knew very well that the relationship between the 3 big toads and Jiraiya would definitely leak these things out. Rather than being exposed, it is better to take the initiative to explain. Kinyu also wanted to see how Konoha would treat him next. Are you talking about the most mysterious 3rd-generation Mizukage in the Kiri Ninja Village? Namikaze Minato's expression changed drastically. In his eyes, a shadow-level powerhouse would not appear on the battlefield casually. The first is to stabilize the rear and coordinate the entire war situation. The second is to avoid being ambushed by other ninja villages, which would lead to unfavorable situations on the battlefield. Now, Kinyu told him that not only did he meet the 7 ninja swordsmen, but he also met the Mizukage of Mist Ninja Village. He is also the most mysterious 3rd-generation Mizukage. If you don't hear it from your own ears, who would believe it? However, the next moment Minato Namikaze was confused. What if Nohara-Rin was captured by the Mist Ninja headed by the 3rd Mizukage? Then Kinyu's opponent will be the 3rd-generation Mizukage. Now that Kinyu is standing here unscathed, there is probably only one outcome. Kinyu, did you repel the 3rd Mizukage? Namikaze Minato asked in shock. No. Kinyu shook his head and said, kill him accidentally. A small voice swept through the entire place like a hurricane at this moment. The first half of his words made Namikaze Minato secretly sigh in relief, but the second half almost crushed his heart. Nohara Lin stood beside her in confusion, unable to react. The 5 Kage, as the strongest among the 5 great ninja villages, every Kage-level strongman has extraordinary strength. Once they appear on the battlefield, they can definitely change the situation of a battle. Now, Kinyu actually told them that he accidentally killed the 3rd-generation Mizukage. This is too shocking. Kinyu, this joke is not funny, Namikaze Minato said with a stiff smile on his face. The 3rd Mizukage. Why did you retreat? Looking at Minato Namikaze, who didn't want to believe it, Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, "Do I seem to be joking with you? The 3rd Mizukage is a Jinchuriki. I stripped off the 3 tails, and he is still there catching fish for me." Senseless. Both Nohara Rin and Namikaze Minato were confused. Looking at Kinyu, who was talking nonsense seriously, Namikaze Minato put on a smile and planned to pat Kinyu on the shoulder. The next moment, the roar came, causing Namikaze Minato's expression to change dramatically. "Grandma, why are you staring at me with such idiotic eyes? I am your Uncle Sanwei." Sanwei Isafu roared, clearly indicating that he was going berserk. Even the way he talks is full of grandpa and grandma. Namikaze Minato hurriedly followed the sound, and the tense voice almost broke. Seeing Kakashi and Uchiha Madara blocking the turtle with 3 tails and 2 fish in its mouth, my scalp felt numb. As a high-ranking member of the Konoha ninja village, he is the most likely successor to the Hokage. Of course, he has seen the portraits of the major-tailed beasts. The scene in front of me was like hell. Chapter 78. It's so delicious that the tailed beast also opened 3 times. Kakashi, Abaido, shut up. Namikaze Minato roared urgently. The moment the Flying Thunder God Jutsu was cast, they appeared in front of Kakashi and Abaido like ghosts. The violent scene made the 2 of them stunned. Unfortunately, the transformation spell was instantly lifted and transformed into a ferocious tortoise that was tens of meters in size. Both of their feet and stomachs were shaking. Damn it! They were actually teasing a tailed beast just now. This horse riding means living too long and getting tired of living. Boy, the majesty of the tailed beast must not be violated. Bear my endless anger. The 3 tails looked up to the sky and roared. The loud sound blew the surrounding leaves away, making people's eardrums feel like they were being torn apart. Seeing the rampaging tailed beast, Kakashi and Uchiha Madara were so exhausted that they couldn't even stand firmly. As soon as the wind blew down, it became the straw that broke the camel's back and he fell to the ground. Namikaze Minato held the Flying Thunder God kunai in his hand and was crying in agony. What he is best at is the art of Flying Thunder God. Now that he has not sealed the 9 tails, he cannot use the 9 tails mode at all. There is no time to learn the immortal mode, and there is no means of mass destruction. There is no way to deal with such a huge-tailed beast. Zayasen, don't scare them. You can use fire escape. Get me a fire. I want to grill fish. Kinyu used the teleportation technique and appeared next to Sanwei's feet. He raised his hand and patted the back. The 3 tails, which were originally filled with ferocious flames and murderous intent, were instantly frightened. Master Kin, please wait a moment. I'm going to make a fire now. The 3 tails instantly transformed back to the size of a mascot. In the eyes of all the petrified people, he skipped to the woods to collect firewood. They were right. This was the legendary and extremely ferocious tailed beast. This horse-riding life has become the rhythm of Urha. Can you tell me, is this your illusion? Namikaze Minato asked stiffly. Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, "If you want to give it a try, I can ask my mistress to give you a slap in the face. You have been traveling all day, so you must be hungry. Let's have the special grilled fish today." After saying these words, Kinyu turned around and entered the forest to look for ingredients. Minato-sensei, do you have any pants on? I think my pants were wet by Sanbai's saliva just now, Uchiha Obito said, shivering. He still looked frightened. Namikaze Minato came back to his senses, and after barely calming down the shock in his heart, he rolled his eyes and said, "If Sanbai Isho knew that you said its saliva smelled like urine, you probably wouldn't be able to plug its teeth. So, go aside and clean yourself up. Don't be embarrassed again." Kakashi also barely recovered and said, "Coward." "Kakashi, what are you talking about? Someone fell down just now and someone's legs were shaking. Aren't I a little worse than you and got my pants wet?" Obito Uchiha glared after taking the backpack thrown by Minato Namikaze. He glanced at it and said, "If you dare, you can do the same as Kinyu and find the head and tail beast to cook. I will call you daddy." After leaving these words, Uchiha rushed out in a hurry. He felt that his pants were not only wet, but also had some sticky stuff stuck to his buttocks. Half an hour later the fire was set up. 4 large fish nearly half a meter long were cut into pieces, cleaned, and grilled over the fire. There is a large iron pot next to it, which is boiling tempting soup. Cooked inside are wild mushrooms, wild vegetables, red peppers, and other ingredients picked by Sanwei in the woods. Every time you turn it, it exudes a spicy taste. The 4 plump big fish had already been roasted until their skins were crispy and golden in color, paired with the secret medicinal spice powder that Kinyu brought out in Konoha village. Some grass fruits, star anise, etc., and sprinkle some sesame oil from time to time. The aroma can be said to hit the taste buds directly. Teacher Minato, Kinyu is not going to put the 4 fishes in that spicy soup. I'm afraid he won't be able to eat them, right? Uchiha Obito had just finished cleaning and rushed back to see this scene. Superficial. Namikaze Minato rolled his eyes and said, "If it weren't for the training of ninjas that delayed Kinyu, there would be no Igaraku ramen in Konoha Ninja Village now. I'm afraid those who do it by hand will lose their jobs and become apprentices." Namikaze Minato had tasted Chinese food in the Northwest Pass. As for the mutton steamed buns and the hand-grilled meat, the taste is still in my mind. Especially looking at Sanwei, who was on the side, drooling, and his eyes were shining. Namikaze Minato knew that there would be a tough battle ahead. "Minato-sensei, do you think it's true?" Nohara Lin couldn't hold back her anger. They often visit the most famous Igaraku ramen in Konoha. Now Minato Namikaze gave such a high evaluation to the spicy soup in front of them, which was a bit difficult for them to accept. When they usually go out on a mission, they kill a fish at random and put it on the fire, or just eat any dry food. There is no such thing as Kinyu, who still has leisure time on the battlefield and makes such complicated rations. Okay. After Kinyu looked at the 4 fish, he placed the 4 fish in the prepared soup base in full view of everyone. Then the fire was slightly increased, and as soon as the spicy soup rolled down, a handful of herbs and a handful of plump green onions were sprinkled on top. The various mixed ingredients, tumbling in the spicy soup, emit flavors that are perfectly combined. Sanwei's body shape was obviously that of a 3 or 4-year-old child. The forked tail, clamped between the chopsticks, was clamped down like lightning. A large piece of fish with a tender skin and tender inside was sandwiched directly into the soup. Stained with chili soup, topped with some herbs and fat wild onions, it was put directly into Sanwei's mouth. The moment you enter the mouth, the spiciness mixed with the taste of many medicinal materials detonates on the taste buds, paired with the crispy skin and tender fish meat. Let Sanwei swallow it instantly. "Okay, is it delicious?" Nohara Lin couldn't help but ask. Looking at the majestic-tailed beasts and squatting aside to eat with them, this kind of life experience is too shocking. When I return to the village, I will definitely be able to brag about it for the rest of my life. Grandpa, I and the tailed beast competed for jobs back then. It's not delicious, it's really not delicious. Sanwei-la's eyes were filled with tears. However, as he said so, the remaining 2 tails were obviously well-trained, holding 3 pairs of chopsticks. Open 3 times directly. Damn you, you're not honest when you're a tailed beast. I won't believe you. Namikaze Minato suddenly woke up. It's not delicious, but it's still open. Who would believe it? The moment he picked up his chopsticks and snatched a piece of fish from his mouth, Namikaze Minato finally understood. It's so delicious that even the tailed beast eats it 3 times. This horse riding is a delicacy in the world. Chapter 79. You missed one person. Crazy. Looking at the majestic tailed beast, and Minato Namikaze, who is known as the most likely to inherit the position of the 4th Hokage, grab food from the mouth of the tailed beast completely regardless of the image. Kakashi and Nohara Rin finally lost their composure. When I took my first bite, I finally understood that the tailed beast was not only vicious, but also cunning. I also understand why Namikaze Minato said that Igaraku Ramen was nothing in front of Kinyu. Looking at the 4 people and 1 beast in front of them, their faces were so hot that they were covered in sweat. They wiped their faces and stuffed them into their mouths as hard as they could. That was a scene that completely disregarded image. Kinyu finally understood what online dating and hotbot meant, and he was overturned as soon as he tried it. This look of devouring food, coupled with the sweaty face, made it impossible to resist the makeup technique, one of the 3 evil arts in Southeast Asia. If they knew that this was just the tip of the iceberg of Chinese delicacies, they might have to pay Kinyu's food expenses for the rest of their lives. After a hearty meal, Sanbai and Uchiha Madara ran to get a lot of river fish back. I planned to cook it in accordance with the law, but unfortunately after trying it one after another, I could only get the shape but not the soul of the fish. In the end, he just stared at Kinyu like a resentful woman. 4 fish, 5 people, and 1 tailed beast. This is indeed not enough. Okay, the time is almost up and we should set off. This is the border of the Kingdom of Water. The murder of the 3rd Mizukage will be discovered by them soon. If we continue to stay here, we will only become targets of attacks. Minato Namikaze dusted himself off and stood up. After resting for most of the night, they also recovered a lot of strength and chakra. Moreover, Namikaze Minato did not want to expose Kinyu's capture of the 3 tails to the outside world too early. After all, apart from Kinyu, the only person who could do such a thing was the 1st Hokage. However, the 1st Hokage suppressed the tailed beasts, but every one of them was unruly. However, in front of him, Kinyu trained the 3 tails into 2 ha. This is completely incomparable. Boss, get me something to eat. You get me some grilled fish. I'll chop 10 people for you. They'll be bloody. Sanweiji stroked his 3 tails and squatted on Kinyu's shoulder to pat him. Chest said. Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, Glutty, you are so big, how can I feed you? If you talk anymore, you will have to eat raw fish for me from now on. Let's go now and save some energy for me. Oh. Faced with this scolding, Sanwei was instantly frightened. It is a tailed beast that lives on chakra and does not actually need to eat. However, after trying the special grilled fish, I obviously have more appetite. Looking at the 3 tails who were lying on Kinyu's shoulders, talking about each other without saying a word, Minato Namikaze smiled bitterly and grabbed his hair. He is so difficult. Konoha Ninja Village, inside the Hokage building. The originally dark office was lit up. Rapid footsteps rushed into the office. In addition to the 3rd Hokage, there are also Maido Menon and Koharu, and even Shimura Danzo is not left behind. Sarutobi, why did you summon us urgently in the middle of the night? Danzo Shimura snorted dissatisfiedly and said, It can't be that your failure in commanding on the battlefield caused any emergency. This will put your position as Hokage in jeopardy. Looking at Danzo, who was talking about the position of Hokage, the 3rd Hokage rolled his eyes helplessly and said, Something big did happen on the battlefield. However, it was not our Konoha ninja village, but the third Mizukage of the Mist Ninja Village who was killed. The low voice seemed to be filled with magic sound at this moment, causing the expressions of the three consultants present to change dramatically. A shadow-level powerhouse represents the leader of a village and is also the greatest support and strength on the battlefield. However, now the third Hokage actually told them that the most mysterious third Mizukage had been killed. This means that the war between the Kingdom of Water and the Kingdom of Fire will come to an end. Sarutobi, your information is correct. Why didn't I detect it? Danzo asked urgently. Could this be a smoke bomb deliberately released by the Mist Ninja Village, so that you could be fooled and defeat our Konoha battlefield in one fell swoop? Maido Manobu and Koharu, who transferred to the dormitory, also nodded in agreement. Sarutobi, what Danzo said is correct. There is no basis for this kind of thing. If a misjudgment is made, it will be a fatal blow to us in Konoha. Maido Kadon said solemnly. No, the third Mizukage of the Mist Ninja Village died in the hands of our Konoha people. The third Hokage's tone became solemn. The expressions of Maido Kadoyan and the other three people suddenly changed drastically. Danzo couldn't help but said, Sarutobi, do you know what nonsense you are talking about? According to my information, the third Mizukage is a Jinchuriki. The person who can kill him needs to be at least cage level. In Konoha, except for the former Sannin, you and me, Minato cannot do this. As soon as Danzo opened his mouth, he ignored them. Maido Kabuto and Koharu, who moved to bed, didn't pay attention. After all, they were different from Danzo. In order to become Hokage, the former constantly tries to find ways to enhance his strength. They are just so-called consultants, obviously different. Wrong, you underestimated someone. Jiraiya walked out. The person who killed the third Mizukage was Uchiha Kinyu, and he also captured the three tails. A small voice swept through the entire place like a hurricane at this moment. The expressions of Danzo and the three people changed dramatically. A moment ago, Danzo was bragging that to kill the third Mizukage, he would at least need to be as powerful as him. Now Jiraiya came out and told them that a kid who was only 14 or 15 years old had actually reached the height they had been training for half a lifetime. This is too much to accept. Jiraiya, is everything you said true? Danzo couldn't hold back his anger. In his eyes, Kinyu came from the Uchiha clan. No. It should be said that anyone who threatens him to become Hokage is a stumbling block. This is the information Minato asked Toad to send back to me. Jiraiya took out 2 scrolls. There is also one of them, the 3 giant toads from MT. Maya-Amu, when Kinyu was fighting against the third Mizukage. The third Mizukage was counterattacked by the tailed beast. After Kinyu summoned 3 giant toads to suppress the 3 tails, he used the main Jikaiou Sharingan to suppress it. Summon 3 giant toads at once. The people present were stunned. In their eyes, this was simply unbelievable. Channeling the 3 major psychic beasts at once requires not only a huge amount of chakra, but also a high level of understanding of psychic techniques. In Danzo's opinion, except for the first-generation Hokage and Uchiha Madara, the god of ninja, it is somewhat possible. I can't think of a third person. Now, Jiraiya actually told them that Kinyu had done it. This was beyond their expectation. Jiraiya, you said Uchiha Kinyu also successfully captured the tailed beast. Could it be that he has mastered a powerful sealing technique? Danzo said anxiously. As the powerful tailed beast weapons of the ninja village, they certainly know how difficult it is to seal the tailed beast. If you are not a person with the physique of the Uzumaki clan, act as a Jinchuriki. I am afraid that like other villages, it will take the lives of many ninjas from the sealing class to be able to do it. Now, Kinyu had captured the tailed beast by himself, which was truly astonishing. No, the information Minato sent back is very strange. It seems that the 3 tails were not sealed and were successfully seduced by Kinyu with delicious food. Jiraiya touched the back of his head and said with a wry smile, Chapter 80. It's no longer your time. Have you been successfully seduced by delicious food? The third Hokage and others looked stagnant. This was completely beyond their expectations. Jiraiya, are you kidding me? Danzo said coldly, tailed beasts are extremely vicious existences. Haven't you seen the Nine Tails riot? To conquer the three tails with delicious food is simply a fool's errand. Slightly hysterical words echoed in the office. Faced with these words, the third Hokage and others nodded in agreement. I don't want to believe it either. Look at this photo. Jiraiya took out a photo of a picnic and immediately attracted the attention of the third Hokage and others. However, when they saw the three tails that had transformed into the same size as Urha holding chopsticks between their tails, they were fighting with humans over food. His cheeks couldn't help but twitch. This horse riding is too devoid of the dignity of a tailed beast. Do you believe it? Jiraiya said with a wry smile. When I first received this information, I also suspected that Minato was joking. I was still thinking about whether to report it, but after Fukasaku-sama of MT Maiboku contacted me afterwards, I decided to hold an emergency meeting. Being able to tame a tailed beast to this extent is not something that ordinary people can do. Listening to these words, both the third Hokage and Danzo's three advisors fell into silence. The information in front of them was indeed far beyond their imagination. If they hadn't heard it with their own ears, who would be willing to believe it? The majestic-tailed beast will be so convinced by humans who have always hated it. Jiraiya, you must have some thoughts on reporting this matter in person. The third Hokage suddenly spoke. If we say that a moment ago, Kinyu was just an outstanding genius ninja among the Uchiha clan. So, now kill the third Mizukage and capture the three tails. But it means that his strength has risen to the same level as theirs. This is a combat force that cannot be ignored. Teacher, you should know very well what I think. Jiraiya had a rare serious look on his face. How should we, Konoha, treat him? Maido Kedoyan and Koharu's expressions changed slightly. As consultants, they are not stupid, but they know how to weigh the pros and cons. Now the strength displayed by Uchiha Kinyu is enough to threaten the safety of a ninja village. If you want to deal with it, you need to make an immediate decision. HMPH, he killed the third Mizukage and snatched the three tails secretly. Once word spreads, it will be a serious crime. Danzo snorted coldly. Don't forget, the third ninja war was caused by the disappearance of the third Kazekage, which caused the Suna ninja village to go berserk and put suspicion on us. Now, the battlefield in San Ninja Village has just stabilized a little. If they find out that Uchiha Kinyu killed the third Mizukage, the crime of the third Kazekage will be directly placed on our heads. When the time comes, the Mist Ninja the village and the Suna Ninja village and us Konoha will start a desperate battle, and what awaits us will be a devastating ending. The slightly lengthy words echoed in the office, making everyone's expressions look more solemn. Danzo's words may seem a bit violent, but they are nevertheless a fact. Sarutobi, what Danzo said makes sense. Maido Kabuto agreed. Koharu, who was sleeping next to him, also nodded in agreement. This scene put a sneer on Danzo's face. As a hero, to dominate something, the most basic thing is to control a situation. Now, he has clearly achieved it. The third Hokage's expression darkened and he did not respond immediately, saying, Jiraiya, what do you think? This question instantly brought Jiraiya into focus. Jiraiya, I advise you to take the overall situation into consideration. Any words you say now will be related to the fate of Konoha. As a Sannin, you need to know the choice. Danzo reminded coldly. However, anyone can hear the slightest hint of threat in the words. I think you should be kind to Uchiha Kinyu. He has a terrifying talent. Jiraiya ignored Danzo at all and said, if the first Hokage allowed us to establish Konoha, then Uchiha Kinyu will do it for us. The rise of Konoha plays a key role. Rise of Konoha. This time even the third Hokage's expression changed. As the current Hokage, he has never been praised like this before. Especially the cynical Jiraiya rarely speaks in such a serious manner. Now, it has subverted their understanding. Bastard! Danzo yelled angrily. Jiraiya, do you know what you are talking about? If it weren't for Uchiha Madara, Hashirama-sama would have died of illness. Now we in Konoha have unified the 5 major ninja villages. How dare you now compare a descendant of a Konoha sinner to Lord Hashirama? This is a grave sin. As soon as the words fell, Danzo took a step forward and appeared in front of Jiraiya like a ghost. His right hand was like a poisonous snake, grabbing directly at Jiraiya's shoulder. Boom. White mist shrouded, Jiraiya used the substitute technique and disappeared out of thin air. What Danzo held in his hand was obviously a piece of dead wood. The blow missed, making Danzo's cheek obviously unable to hang on. With twitching, he hurriedly turned around and looked behind him. Jiraiya, you have slandered Lord Hashirama's reputation. Don't you know it even now? Danzo said angrily. However, looking at this scene, Jiraiya didn't take it to heart at all and said, Danzo, you didn't even see through the substitution technique I used. You are already old. It is the younger generation that will support Konoha in the future, not stubborn people like you. It is precisely because of your thoughts that there will be constant disputes within Konoha Ninja Village. At this point, a sound of breaking through the air came from behind Danzo. The wooden stand he had originally grabbed turned into the second Jiraiya with a bang. His hands suddenly formed a seal, and a head of silver hair quickly wrapped around Danzo's body like a poisonous snake. Danzo's expression suddenly changed. He never expected that Jiraiya would use this method. Being caught off guard and so close, it was impossible to resist. In an instant, he was wrapped tightly by Needle Jizo. Danzo, you can't even defeat me, so you are even less qualified to challenge him. Jiraiya quickly lifted the ninjutsu and said coldly, now is not your time. The low voice echoed in the office, and even Maido Kedwayan and Koharu, who had gone to bed, changed their expressions. All right, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.